We won 2-0 and delivered a defensive masterclass to see that through, and 2 great goals. And then I think probably Chelsea, first game of the season, we went down there, people said no chance, performed very well, a couple of twists of fate with sendings off, etc., and won down there, and people would give us no chance at all. So there's loads of big ones. The favourite of all of it, they're different for different reasons because of the Premier League, but the favourite of all of it is definitely when we beat Wigan to win promotion or to gain promotion the first time. That will never be replaced, I don't think, in my life, let alone in Burnley's, or in my thinking of Burnley. What's your favourite game?
Mine, if I said to you the 9th of March 2014, do you remember that?
No. Would that be... Go on. Oh, Blackburn.
We beat Blackburn for the first time in 30-odd years.
Just to be clear, that would get in there, but that's a game for the people, don't forget. You asked me for me, so that's a game for the people. I always made that clear. For the fans, different thing. So I get it.
Fair enough.
Here's one for you. When I first got it, my first ever board meeting, the one thing they asked me is, will you beat Blackburn for us? And I think we've gone a bit beyond that since then. I think we've gone a little bit bigger than that. But that's what they said. They said, just beat Blackburn for us. One board member, I'm not going to name who, one board member particularly said, just, whatever you do, just beat Blackburn. True story.
Brilliant, yeah.
And I do remind him now and again, he's still here, I do remind him. You know, when they're moaning about whatever and, you know, spending money and all, I go, you only ever asked me to beat Blackburn, you know, and I think we've done a little bit better than that.
Radio 1's Jordan North in his cave, by the sounds of it, talking to Sean Dyche. That was a great interview, Ian Dennis, because it kind of highlights when you have proper fans on a board, or the real proper fans and what they want compared to obviously the professionals within the game.
Yes, and obviously there's a lot of takeover talk at the minute as well about Burnley, so that might well be changing, but I just think that Sean Dyche has done a wonderful job. I'm fearful for them this season. I mean, I know he's talked before about how the budget might need to be stretched if they are to survive in the top flight. I mean, this is their 5th successive season as a Premier League club, and they haven't particularly been busy in the window. And they're only bringing in Dale Stephens for about £1 million. They've lost a number of experienced players as well. I just think that if you stand still in the Premier League, the unforgiving nature of the Premier League, you can get caught out.
Also, Leon Osmond, and we've talked about this before, and it's not necessarily specific to Sean Dyche, it's a general point. You know, there are managers who will always have to work out when is the right time to move on, and I don't want to annoy Burnley fans in any means, shape or form, but you need to know when to go to maximise your potential, don't you?
Yes, of course. You know, you look at David Moyes was at Everton for all them years that I was with. He then decided that an opportunity came along for him to manage Manchester United. So it didn't work out, but there are times when you still have to take that jump. I don't think Sean Dyche will be eager just to leave Burnley for the sake of it and hope their offers come his way. I think you work and you do really well at a club. You show that you're suited to managing certain clubs or to manage higher up the league, and then you hope an offer comes in. So, you know, Sean Dyche has done everything he can, I think, here at Burnley. He's done it with virtually no budget. He's got them promoted. They've got into Europe. He's continually getting them or keeping them in the Premier League. So you do wonder if other managers now, rather than looking abroad when they need a new manager, rather than looking at old managers that are not in jobs, whether they'll take a chance on the likes of Sean Dyche. It's always seems to have gone against him that his style here at Burnley is what holds him back from managing other clubs in the Premier League. But I think he's got enough. He's got enough nous about him. He's got enough cleverness about him to adapt to what kind of players he's got given. He just needs the opportunity.
But then, Rory, very quickly, you look elsewhere, and you actually wonder where he would go next at the moment, given who is in situ at the likely clubs that he would move to.
Yeah, and interestingly, there's been a couple of pieces the last couple of days just making the point that we've not had a sacking yet in the Premier League, which is good. Obviously, the more stability, the better, but it's also quite rare. I'm not sure what Dyche's next job would be, just because I don't think he'd get a top 6 job, and I'm not saying that any of this is right. I don't think he'd get a top 6 job, and I'm not sure he'd even be the leading candidate for say if Wolves lost Nuno, would they go for Sean Dyche? I'm not entirely sure. The one question mark I would have to say, and Dyche has done a brilliant job, the one thing that I do have to wonder slightly is about Burnley's recruitment. And I know that the purse strings are tight at Burnley, and the club has always made it plain that it's not going to gamble its future to stay in the Premier League for an extra year. That is not going to happen at Burnley. It's not an option. But you do wonder whether they, over the last few years, especially before COVID, whether they have potentially not made... You've not seen a player go to Burnley and become a star, and then the club has been able to sell him on for 40-50 million quid, which is how those clubs can kind of make that next step. And I wonder if that's one thing that would legitimately make clubs of, a couple of runs above Burnley wonder whether Dyche is the right manager for their job. But other than that, his body of work is astonishing. Just for Burnley to still be in the Premier League is an incredible achievement.
Burnley-Chelsea then, 3 o'clock, that kicks off. That is our base with Ian and Leon. Earlier in the Championship, it ended Bristol City 1, Norwich 3. Remember, leaders Reading beaten 3-2 at Coventry last night. There are 10 games kicking off at 3 o'clock, and we are at all of them this afternoon. Let's start with Bournemouth, unbeaten in 6 at home to Derby. Jonathan Overend.
Good afternoon, Mark. I feel like I've driven through a lake, a reservoir and a small ocean to get here today. And what do I find? Blue sky and sunshine. Classic Riviera behaviour. Bournemouth, the only remaining unbeaten side in the Championship after that defeat for Reading last night. They've got 4 wins and 4 draws, so they can't go top today, but they can close the gap to 3. Danjuma, Billing and Rico coming in for them. Josh King is on the bench. That's only 2 starts for him this season. Wayne Rooney significantly back for Derby. He's missed the last 3 in self-isolation. Just the 1 training session on his return yesterday, but straight back into the team as captain. David Marshall is back in goal today, crucially for them as well, as they try to pick up only their 2nd win of the season.
Let's go to Swansea Blackburn next. The home sides win in midweek, their first in 4 league games. Blackburn have actually lost 3 of their last 4. Laura Kenyon's at this one.
And after a morning of pretty torrential rain here too, chappers, the sun has just come out at the Liberty Stadium. Swansea 3rd in the Championship table going into this weekend. They make 3 changes to the side that started against Stoke City midweek. Matt Grimes drops to the bench, so Andre Ayew takes the captain's armband. Blackburn, 1 change for them. Ryan Niambi comes in for defender Barry Douglas, who's now self-isolating. They also line up with the league's current top goal scorer, Adam Armstrong, who's bagged 9 goals in 8 games. Standing by for a Halloween goal fest here at the Liberty Stadium.
Thank you very much, Laura. And speaking of Halloween, be very careful here, Aaron. Right, Millwall against Huddersfield.
I've got nothing for you. They're going about their business quietly here, though. And Millwall, widely acclaimed in the media this week for having the meanest defence around, yet more clean sheets than any other side in the top 5 leagues this year. And they could go as high as 2nd tonight in the Championship if they win and results fall their way elsewhere. But they will have to do it without manager Gary Rowett and his coaching staff, who remain in isolation following positive COVID tests. Senior players Alex Pearce and Sean Williams continue their roles on the sidelines for the Lions, but the interim duo have injury concerns, particularly in attack, with Spurs loanee Troy Parrott still injured, as is Ken Zahor. He picked up a knock at Deepdale midweek. Conor Mahoney and Tom Bradshaw come in. Carlos Corberán makes 5 changes to his Huddersfield side as they look to arrest their slump in form. Alex Pritchard comes in for Fraser Campbell. He drops to the bench. A real blustery afternoon at the Den for Millwall and Huddersfield.
Thank you, Aaron. Let's go to Wetherby. This is where our racing coverage is coming from this afternoon, in the hands of John Hunt. John?
Yeah, they've just started the big hurdle race of the day here, Mark. It's a 3-mile West Yorkshire hurdle. Very early stages indeed. They're only jumping the first flight of hurdles now. Liz Nagar Oscar, the Stayers hurdle winner from the Cheltenham Festival, reappears this afternoon. But the favourite for today's hurdle race is Roxana. She won at the Cheltenham Festival in 2019, and she is held up last of all in these very, very early stages. News from Northern Ireland as well, Mark. Down Royal, the champion chase in the last few minutes, won by Gordon Elliott, and The Storyteller, ridden by Keith Donoghue, presenting Percy an honourable 4th on his first run of the season.
We'll go back for the conclusion of that big hurdle race with John, and then John will bring you commentary of the Charlie Hall Chase, surname running in that at 3:20. Back to the Championship. The new Barnsley boss, Valérien Ismaël, made an immediate impact on Tuesday night as his side recorded their first win of the season in his first game in charge. Can they build on it this afternoon at home to a Watford side who are unbeaten in 4? Tom Gale.
And what a win, Mark. 3-0 here against QPR. The new French head coach using his programme notes to pay tribute to assistant Adam Murray, who acted as caretaker for the second time in less than a year and oversaw 3 draws. No Corley Woodrow, though. Their top scorer injured his hamstring during Tuesday's victory. It's 7 years since Watford last came to Oakwell. Troy Deeney scored that day, but the number 9 isn't fit enough to make the bench. Neither is Loney Glenn Murray, so leading the line, Brazilian teenager João Pedro, who scored 3 goals in his last 5 starts.
Yeah, what a player he's starting to look. Right, the bottom 2 meet at Adams Park. Wickham got their first point of the season in midweek. Sheffield Wednesday 5 points adrift after 3 straight defeats. Katie Shanahan's watching this one.
Yes, it's the battle at the bottom today. Championship newcomers Wickham are the only team who haven't won in the Championship this season, but they did pick up a point against Watford, with manager Gareth Ainsworth saying afterwards, if we keep playing like that, there is no chance we'll go down. Well, Gareth Ainsworth is not here today. He's had a back operation, so Richard Dobson will be barking orders from the Wickham technical area. As for Sheffield Wednesday, they're facing a 12-point penalty and are on a poor run too, so they'll be hoping to avoid a Halloween horror show against Wickham, who sit 1 place above them. Wickham are on change. 5 changes for Sheffield Wednesday due to a number of red cards and injuries. Key one is the change in goalkeeper. Joe Wildsmith comes in for Cameron Dawson. He makes his first league start of the season.
Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough are unbeaten in the league since the opening day of the season. Nottingham Forest are unbeaten in 4 since Chris Hughton took charge. Connie McLaughlin.
That's right, Mark, and today they also remember one of their former players, Nobby Stiles. They'll have a minute's applause to celebrate the life of the man they affectionately called the Toothless Tiger, and they'll be wearing black armbands to pay tribute to the World Cup winner who died earlier this week, of course. At the game itself, 7 games unbeaten for Borough, as you rightly say, and in the away dugout we've got Chris Hughton, who's brought some stability back to Forest. Neil Warnock praising the job his opposite numbers done in his news conference in midweek, and he says he believes that Forest have one of the best squads in the league. 3 changes for both for Borough. In come Wood, Bola and Coulson. Forest bring in Bong, Freeman and Guerrero starts up front. And Mark, you've got my word, 0 Halloween puns coming from the Riverside. I promise.
Thank you very much, Connie. Stoke Rotherham next. Stoke 7-game unbeaten run ended in defeat at Swansea during the week. Rotherham, though, very impressive in beating Sheffield Wednesday. Their first win in 7 attempts. Catherine Merry.
Yeah, mixed fortunes indeed, chappers. Stoke now in 10th, 7 places above Rotherham. They had a brilliant first home league win against Brentford here last weekend, but the wheels fell off midweek with that loss against Swansea. Only 3 shots all game and none were on target. 6 changes therefore have been made, including Angus Gunn in goal after Adam Davis's injury at Swansea. And up front, Campbell, Fletcher and Powell start. A real statement of intent from Michael O'Neill. And they could go top 6 tonight if they win and other results go their way. And Rotherham buoyed by that impressive 3-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday this week, a result that moved them 4 points above the bottom 3. Only 2 changes by Paul Warne. Both McDonald, Sean and Angus are in. And when these sides last met in the Championship season, both fixtures ended 2-2. So here's hoping for another 4-goal thriller on Halloween, Mark. There's a Halloween joke for you. Stoke and Rotherham to come.
Let's go back to the rugby. Gareth Lewis at Wales, Scotland.
First try of the game, Mark, in Wales' first attack after half an hour. Rhys Carey crossing underneath the post for his first international try. Looked as if Alwyn Jones would get it on his 149th cap. Not to be, though. Wales lead by 5 points to 3. Finn Russell off. He's limped off for Scotland too.
Back to Wetherby for the conclusion of the Bet365 hurdle. John Hunt.
Well, the second last flight of hurdles, Liz Nagar-Oscar. The champion stayers hit the front, but Roxana looks dangerous and now draws alongside. In behind, Next Destination and Kildisar, both running screamers, but it's Roxana who's really opened up now, down towards the last. She flicked over that in great style, making light of this field. It's a high quality, staying hurdling field, but Roxana's going to demolish them for the brothers Dan and Harry Skelton. Oh, she's run away. A really impressive 10 to 12 length winner at the line. Next Destination, that's the horse trained by Paul Nicholls. He's in second place. Nicholls will be pleased with that. First run for 3 years. Surname comes next, of course. And Kildisar and Liz Nagar-Oscar were 3rd and 4th. A devastating early blow this jump season then for Roxana. She's a very, very impressive winner of the West Yorkshire Hurdle.
John, back with the Charlie Hall chase at 3:20 at Wetherby. Back to the Championship. Cardiff's worst defeat of last season came at QPR on New Year's Day. They were thumped 6-1. They return there today. John Southall.
They do, and I think it's fair to say, Mark, that neither of these sides are pulling up any trees this season. Just 3 wins between them from their collective 16 games. QPR have managed just 1 victory. That was back on the 12th of September. 7 without a win, and they haven't managed a goal in their last 4 games. They've actually scored just 6 all season. Not surprisingly, they make 4 changes from the defeat at Barnsley. Kakai Dickey, who suspended, Ball and Bond drop out for Kane, Masterson, Cameron and Asai Samuel. Cardiff, well, they're not much better. They're the 1-1 specialists, having drawn the last 3 by that scoreline. And as you mentioned, they're still probably waking up in a cold sweat about that game here last season when they were thrashed 6-1. Can't see 7 goals this afternoon. Cardiff 1 change. Junior Hoylett drops out. Josh Murphy comes in.
Dan Biggar converted that Wales try, by the way, so it's Wales 7, Scotland 3. It's on BBC television if you want to watch that this afternoon. Back to the Championship. Preston are yet to win at home in the league this season. In fact, they're yet to score a goal. And bearing in mind Birmingham aren't exactly free scoring either, this could be a very long afternoon for you, Shojo Saka.
Yeah, I'm hunkered down. Preston's failure, Mark, to find the net at Deepdale has prompted manager Alex Neil to use a soft 4-letter word to describe his team's home form. Shan't repeat that, but Neil has made 5 changes today, among them Tom Barkhuizen, who impressed in midweek. Birmingham also make 5 changes and include Lucas Jutkiewicz, who came off the bench and scored their winner against Huddersfield on Wednesday. And a minute's silence for Nobby Stiles here as well at Deepdale. Stiles, of course, played for and managed Preston North End.
Well, there's just one more game to preview in the Championship. Luton against Brentford. Sahel Sahi.
Both sides earned a point in midweek, Mark. Luton home to Nottingham Forest. Brentford likewise at home with Norwich. They're separated by 2 points in the table, and they're separated also by 2 places. You get the feeling they're at similar levels of form at present. Brentford, after losing their 2 star forwards to the Premier League, are trying to find a new rhythm. Summer signing Ivan Toney is helping with that transition. He scored 8 goals in 8 games, including 3 braces. The wind and rain has ceased, thankfully. The great leveller of English football is hopefully not going to nullify a game which we all believe in the press seats will be full of attacking cut and thrust. So no Halloween jokes from me, Mark. You know why? I'm usually the pumpkin on October the 31st. I just sit at home while my doorbell rings.
Sunderland have scored twice in the last few minutes at Gillingham. Remember, Gillingham are down to 10 men in that game. Chris Maguire from the penalty spot, first of all, and then Lyndon Gooch deep into stoppage time. Gooch is 2nd of the season, Maguire's 5th of the season. Gillingham, as I say, down to 10 men and conceded a penalty. I doubt Steve Evans will be happy at the full-time whistle. Exeter still lead Carlisle by a 1-0, by the way, in League 2. And now our featured game in League 1 is Swindon. Swindon, they're taking on 2nd place Hull. Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, the last time I saw Hull for 5 Live Sport was on the final day of last season when they were relegated, as they took just 6 points since New Year's Day. But what a response. 7 wins from their first 9 games in League 1, their 2nd best ever start to a season, and Malik Wilkes has scored 6 goals in 8 games. Swindon have lost their last 5. They haven't played the last 2 scheduled games due to coronavirus. There have been 5 positive tests in the camp, and the manager Richie Wellens isn't here today. Although he hasn't tested positive, he has to self-isolate after being close to people who have.
Thank you, Hamish, for some really good games in League 2 this afternoon. Cheltenham in 5th, home to Forest Green Rovers, who are in 3rd. 2nd place Cambridge go to 9th place Crawley. Leaders Newport are home to 8th place Harrogate. And Paul Scholes, in charge of Salford, takes on the club he supports and the club he used to manage, Oldham. Betty Glover.
It's the Paul Scholes derby, this chappers. He's in the dugout as he continues as interim head coach for Salford. He was, of course, at Oldham last year for that short spell. He only got 1 win in 7 games there, though, so we'll be hoping this time at Salford is a little bit more successful. So far, he's won 1, lost 1 and drawn 1. They sit 10th. Oldham, on the other hand, are boosted by the return of their coach, Harry Kewell, who's at his first match since isolating after testing positive for COVID-19 after a pretty shocking start. Oldham's results, they're starting to look up. They come into this on the back of a 2-1 win over Southend, but they're without their top scorer, Conor McAlhenney, who's out with an injury.
Thank you very much, Betty. We'll keep you updated, of course, on all the EFL games with Ian Dennis and Leon Osman, who are at Turf Moor off for an afternoon playing computer games. Statman whilst listening to the radio?
No, I think I'll be listening to the radio, but I think I'll be watching the football. I've got Atalanta Crotone on at the moment, a great game in Serie A, 2-1 at the moment. Atalanta lead at the break, 2 goals from Lucas Muriel. So maybe I'll move around Europe, go to Germany, and then back to the Premier League for Liverpool.
Do you think he's taken the hipster crown off you, Rory?
He's welcome to it. It's nothing but trouble, to be honest. And to be fair, my afternoon will basically involve putting Halloween decorations up. So, but chappers, I've been meaning to say, you've been a bit harsh on Aaron Paul. Does Erling Haaland tweeted last night wishing his followers happy Haaland-ween, which I think probably takes the absolute biscuit, and if anything, has put me off him entirely.
I wonder how many Halloween scripted ad-libs have you noted down for this afternoon, Ian?
Sorry? That's harsh.
Okay. All right.
None.
Actually, there might be in a minute's silence by the sounds of it at Turf Moor. So we'll come back to Ian very shortly. If Chelsea, Rory, don't get anything out of today, do we then, when we were talking about, Lampard and Solskjaer and Arteta, does the cycle start again with Lampard?
I think it probably does, yeah. I think Chelsea are in a genuine transition, and it's not an easy season to bed all those new players into a side. But that, spending that amount of money, as we said before, does just bring with it colossal expectations. So every defeat for Chelsea will be interpreted by their fans as much as by the kind of external media and stuff as a sign, I guess, that the transition isn't going as quickly as it is presumably meant to. Does any team that spends that much money is not doing it to think, well, in 2 or 3 years we might be competitive. That's not the idea. But then I just saw a glimpse of the table, and I think it sums up kind of how chaotic the season is. That Manchester United obviously had a brilliant result in midweek against RB Leipzig, who were Champions League semi-finalists 2 months ago. They're 15th, and yet they are the form team. And you just think, well, maybe, and I think they're only 6 points off Everton. So it's still such an. I know it's not a particularly sort of coruscating take on anything, but it's so early in the season, and it has been such a kind of mixed bag for everyone this season that I think teams maybe can afford to drop points here or there, and it doesn't need to be interpreted as a disaster.
But that means, Statman, doesn't it, that everybody has to change their mindset, because the last 2 or 3 years you could barely afford a defeat if you wanted to win the title.
Yeah, I think it's that mental stability that's really going to hold through. I think one of the interesting things about Manchester United, and we spoke previously about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's runs and then falling off. Manchester United have a very young squad, and it's going to take them a bit of time to gain that experience to hit this consistency. And I think that's something that, if Manchester United want to go and win the Premier League this season, again, wide open right now with Liverpool's injuries, with Manchester City in a bit of transition. Chelsea are in there, Arsenal are in there, United are in there, Everton are even in there. But if United want to go and do that, the consistency needs to come from those younger players. But if they do, it'll be an absolutely fantastic success.
So the final whistle has gone in both of the 1 o'clock kickoffs in the EFL. 10-man Gillingham beaten 2-0 by Sunderland this afternoon. And in League 2, it finished Exeter 1, 10-man Carlisle 0. Remember, earlier on in the Championship, Bristol City 1, Norwich 3 was how it finished in the early game in the Premier League. Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1. Thank you to Statman and to Rory for this afternoon. Remember, later on, we will turn our attention to the Six Nations. Wales-Scotland underway at the moment, with Wales leading by 7 points to 3. And if you want to watch that, then it's on BBC television. And in fact, that's just reached half-time. So, Gareth Lewis.
Yeah, not quite a Halloween horror show, Mark, but it's certainly not pretty. Wales lead by 7 points to 6 at half-time. Scotland will be kicking themselves, though. They dominated the first 30 minutes, had Wales in all sorts of trouble at the breakdown, at the scrum, at the line-out. But it's Wales with the only try. Rhys Carey, the prop, burrowing his way over after 31 minutes. 2 penalties for Scotland from Finn Russell and from Adam Hastings. Russell, though, has limped off injured. Lots of people looking forward to that return in the number 10 shirts today. Not to be 7-6 to Wales at half-time.
Italy against England is later on with Chris Jones and Matt Dawson. You'll be able to follow that on 5 Live, on 5 Live Sports Extra, and on the BBC Sounds app. France-Ireland gets underway just after 8 o'clock this evening. That's on BBC television, and it will be here on 5 Live as well. There is a government press conference at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and we will bring that to you as well. But now our base for the afternoon is Turf Moor. It's Burnley against Chelsea, with all the goals as they go in elsewhere. And in fact, Fleetwood are already a goal up against Oxford. Callum Camps has got that 6 for the season for him. If they win that, Fleetwood, they'll have won 3 on the spin. All the other goals, though, will come with Leon Osman and our very own little pumpkin, Ian Dent.
Now that was rehearsed. If only I was little. We are underway, and just to let you know as well, when you came to me just moments ago, by the way, we weren't in a minute's silence then, but we have had a minute's silence in memory of Nobby Stiles, but also because it's the final home game before Remembrance Weekend. There was the last post played as well here at Turf Moor in memory of those that have lost their lives in conflict. Just in terms of the team news as well, there's been a late change. Pulisic was injured in the warm-up, so Timo Werner, it was going to be the first Premier League game that he's not involved in, but actually he does actually come off, or he actually does start, does Timo Werner. It was so Timo Werner comes into the side as a result of that. But a number of players in the Premier League this season who have been injured in the warm-up. So the two teams now with Pope in goal, a back four of Loughton, Tarkowski, Long and Taylor, Stevens, Brownhill, Westwood and McNeil the midfield for Burnley. Barnes and Wood are the two up front. Burnley, their claret and sky blue shirts and white shorts, playing from left to right as we look at the back of this main stand here at Turf Moor, opposite the Bob Lord stand. And for Chelsea, in their royal blue shirts and shorts and white socks, they have Mendy in goal, a back four of James, Zuma, Thiago Silva and Chilwell, Mount and Kante, with Ziyech, Havertz and Werner behind Tammy Abraham. So 6 changes made from the side that beat Krasnodar in midweek, 3 from the side that played Manchester United, of course, last weekend. Early goal in the Championship at Deepdale. Shojo Shaka.
Yeah, Birmingham have got it. What was that about Mark Chapman saying no goals here at Deepdale? Well, barely a minute played. Mix-up in the Preston defence with the goalkeeper Declan Rudd making a mistake. Lucas Jutkiewicz knocks it across, and Riley McGree scores on his debut for Birmingham City. Preston 0, Birmingham 1.
In fact, it'll be only 9 changes. Just to the 2 changes from the Manchester United game. 9 because of Werner starting. So Azpilicueta and Jorginho are the only 2 who miss out, as Frank Lampard, with that balancing act, Leon Osman from the side last week, as Kante plays the ball out to Chilwell on this near side, and Chilwell will not keep the ball in play, and it runs out for a goal kick. So a balancing act in terms of his squad selection, and then a late change as well due to that injury to Pulisic. Leon.
Yeah, it's never ideal when you have to change your lineup during the warm-up because something's happened in the warm-up. I mean, as you mentioned, we've had so many injuries in warm-ups already this season. You have to think that there is something there with regards to change over time and fitness levels of the players. But it's something you have to now get on with. You've seen that Chelsea have had to make that change. Obviously, if you've got someone with the quality of Timo Werner to come in, it's never too bad a thing. They should manage to cope with the situation, should Frank Lampard's team.
So Burnley playing from left to right, Chelsea defending that end as the ball is played through, and all of a sudden Barnes could be in here, and Barnes lifts it over the goal. He was then caught by Mendy, but he put it over the top, and that was a good opportunity for Ashley Barnes. It was the diagonal ball played through, and he got away from Zuma. He was onside when it was played through, brought it under control, went away from him a fraction, and as a result of that right-footed, he couldn't keep it down over the top.
Oh, he has to score. He really does have to score. Ashley Barnes, beg your pardon. It was a terrific ball over the top from Brownhill. Just opened his body up and dropped it over the head of Kurt Zuma. He brought it down with one touch. You felt he just needed to pass it into the back of the goal, but got right underneath it under the pressure of Mendy and put it clean over the crossbar.
Goal at Oakwell in the Championship, Tom Gale.
Barnsley 1, Watford 0. Watford trying to play out from the back. The captain, Alex Mowat, picked it up 40 yards out, let rip with his left foot in off the post. Barnsley 1, Watford 0.
Chilwell back to Thiago Silva. Silva floating it out towards Reece James. Stretching was McNeil. Heads it up and then actually behind him, and able then to clear it away on that left-hand side for Burnley. Crawley 0, Cambridge 1 is the latest score in League 2. Cambridge, who are second in League 2. Exeter, by the way, beat Carlisle by a goal to nil in the early game in League 2. Sunderland won 2-0 away at Gillingham in League 1. Bristol City 1, Norwich 3 was the result in the early kick-off in the Championship, and Manchester City, as we've been hearing, beat Sheffield United by a goal to nil at Bramall Lane. This is BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service. 6 minutes into this contest on what is an afternoon a little bit blustery. For the time being it's dry, although it hasn't been.
No, it's been very cold, very blistery at the back of the stand. You really can't feel the wind whipping around us at the moment, and I'm sure that'll be felt down there on the field. I think Burnley are already trying to take advantage of that. 3 occasions already. They just get the ball to the fullbacks. They're trying to knock it long to the centre forwards, having them fight them 2 Chelsea centre backs and hopefully trying to win them second balls, and they've already created a chance.
Ball again hit over the top. That's what they're going to be looking for today. It was dealt with by a stretching Thiago Silva, but with the wind, 2 or 3 times now they've looked for that ball through the middle, over the top, to try and test Thiago Silva and Zuma. Here is Ziyech, cut out though by Brownhill, runs in field, and that was a challenge made by Dale Stevens in the midfield for Burnley. Downfield it goes all the way to Edouard Mendy, the goalkeeper, looking to become the first Chelsea goalkeeper to keep clean sheets in his first 3 Premier League games since Petr Cech 16 years ago. So wherever you are in the world, good afternoon from Turf Moor, East Lancashire. Burnley against Chelsea as the World Service are with us, and Kante, who's in between the 2 central defenders for Chelsea in there. Royal blue shirts and shorts, playing from right to left, come forward. Thiago Silva to Chilwell, high up the pitch on this near side, the left. Chilwell's ball in field. Pulisic withdrawn from the starting lineup, an injury in the warm-up, to be replaced by Timo Werner. And now here is Mason Mount, the England international, looking for the return from Abraham. It was checked. The referee is David Coote, who didn't see anything untoward in that challenge. As play continues, and then McNeil is fouled on that far side by Reece James, and as Sean Dyche, in his celebrating his 8th anniversary as Burnley manager, applauds in his black coat, just takes a swig of water over on that far side. His side will take time with this set piece. Leon Osman.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that Burnley play for. I think Chelsea today have really got to be patient. They've got to keep the attack sustained. They've got to win second balls when they come out of the Burnley defence. They can't do what they've just done at that moment. Give a cheap free kick away. Allow Burnley to get out of position. Burnley play for these to be able to then knock the ball forward and try and get something.
Taylor hits it long on the diagonal, drops inside the Chelsea penalty area. Abraham shields the ball away from Tarkowski, clears. Chelsea were appealing for a foul there, Tarkowski on Abraham. Play continues, floated back into the box, aimed towards Wood. Potential break could be on. Mount couldn't bring that bouncing ball under control. There was Westwood to mop up in the midfield. Back to Pope, swings at it right-footed, all in green, the goalkeeper for Burnley. Not like the bright orange for Mendy in the opposite end of the field, that cricket end of the field here at Turf Moor. As there is actually pockets of blue sky appearing in the distance over the Lancashire hills.
No.
It was biblical when I arrived earlier on. You can actually see those hills now with the clouds so high. The hills, the golden leaves on the various trees, all the autumnal shades. The rooftops of the terraced houses with the chimneys. You certainly always get that feel of a Lowry painting when you come to Turf Moor, and that vantage view that we get here from the back of the stand as Reece James on the right hand side cross strikes the back of Taylor, headed on by Havertz and caught by Pope. And still that Burnley flag on top of the Bob Lord stand, getting an absolute buffeting in the wind.
It is, but it's not harmed the opening of this game. I was here for Burnley against Tottenham Hotspur on Monday night, and already both teams have had more opportunities than I saw in the whole of that game. Chelsea are moving the ball at pace. They're playing in the pockets in between Burnley defenders. And from a Burnley point of view, they're getting the ball higher, they're getting the ball wider, and they're getting players closer to their strikers when they do knock it long. So I'm expecting to see quite a few chances if the game continues how it started.
Leyton Orient 1, Bolton 0, Rochdale 0, Bristol Rovers 1, and Cheltenham lead Forest Green by a goal to nil in League 2. You're up to date as the goals as they go on. It's the usual Saturday goal service with the commentary here of the Premier League. In case you've missed it, Boris Johnson press conference is at 5 o'clock. We'll be bringing you that here on BBC Radio 5 Live. As a result, the Six Nations, England against Italy, from 4:45 will be on 5 Live Sports Extra. But it's a Burnley side who only had 1 win in 8 this season, and that was against Millwall in the League Cup. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They are a side that need a little bit of a pick-me-up, if you like, as Chilwell on this near side the left, switching play, aimed towards Reece James, headed away by Taylor, the Burnley left-back. Ziyech's header will run straight to Dale Stephens, plays it forward to Westwood, comes under pressure and loses the ball, and now Havertz. Central position of the Burnley half, out to Reece James. Reece James comes under pressure from McNeil, and Chelsea are forced to go back. Bristol City 1, Norwich City 3, a result in the Championship. We know at Deepdale it's Preston 0, Birmingham 1. The latest from Bournemouth against Derby, Jonathan Overend.
Yes, it's 0-0 here. Free kick for Derby just outside the box, and Wayne Rooney on his return to the starting 11 might take this, and he's been central to excellent play from Derby in the early stages, creating chances for Waghorn and for Clark, but he might fancy his chances here, Danny, from just outside the box. Bournemouth 0, Derby 0.
James with a low cross in from the right, cleared away by Tarkowski. It was an excellent ball to find him from Mason Mount, crossfield out towards that right hand side, and from that little green cone the replacement ball is picked up by Reece James, as the other one is being retrieved by a steward in amongst those wooden seats of the Bob Lord stand. We'll go back into the Championship to Swansea City against Blackburn. Laura Kenyon.
Indeed, and a lively start here at the Liberty Stadium. Chances either end, really, but Blackburn with the best opportunity inside the first 5 minutes. Things just opened up, really, for the league's top goal scorer, current top goal scorer, Adam Armstrong, but he put it wide, and the current score here at the Liberty Stadium, it's Swansea City 0, Blackburn Rovers 0.
Ziyech with a ball into the penalty area, cleared away by Tarkowski. It's only been partially cleared. Chelsea have won it back. Mason Mount, we're going back to Bournemouth in a moment where there's been a goal. This is BBC Radio 5 Live in the World Service, but Chelsea keeping the ball. It's Havertz to Ziyech, who's come central. Out it comes to this near side. Chilwell level the penalty area. In comes the cross. It's very, very deep. It'll be kept alive by James. He pulls it back. Timo Werner is unmarked. The angle is tight, and then he can only cut the ball back to Dale Stephens, who will clear for Burnley. So back to Bournemouth, Jonathan.
Where Derby have taken the lead, and Wayne Rooney might claim an assist, even though his free kick went into the wall. It started an almighty scramble, and Graham Shinney stabbed it home. Bournemouth 0, Derby 1.
MK Dons 0, Wimbledon 1, Wigan 0, Northampton 1. 2 latest scores in League One. And certainly here, Leon Osman, Chelsea have just started to put a little bit of pressure on the home side.
They've started this game very well, and they're being very brave in their play as well. Chilwell's playing like an outside left, and Reece James is playing like an outside right, and they're not shy in playing those crossfield passes to really stretch this Burnley midfield. Burnley play with two blocks of 4, and it's quite difficult to get over the pitch. So at the times we're seeing McNeil back in a left back spot, and Brownhill, who's playing on the right as a right back, and Burnley look like a back 6, and it's given Chelsea so much space in front of the defence for Ziyech, for Mount, for Havertz. They're just knocking the ball around, creating pockets of space, and they're really dominating this game at the moment.
Still Burnley 0, Chelsea 0 to the Riverside in the Championship. Conor McLaughlin.
Yeah, early opportunity there for Middlesbrough. It was the corner coming in from the right hand side. It found the foot of Brits Asamoah, but his shot just managed to go over at the top of the bar, would you believe. Nottingham Forest slightly rattled, but trying to come back into this one. 15 minutes on the clock. Middlesbrough 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Here is Chilwell on the left hand side, back to Thiago Silva. Zuma, Kante just ahead of him. It's a short diagonal ball that he's able to take on the edge of the centre circle and turns. Chelsea are unbeaten in their last 5 against Burnley since a rather surprising victory for Burnley at Stamford Bridge 3 years ago. It was an afternoon, I remember it, where Cahill and Fabregas were both sent off.
We heard Sean Dyche talk before the game that's one of his best and favourite games as manager of Burnley, that victory down at Chelsea.
Here is Mason Mount, left hand side, back to Kante, keeping the ball well. Chelsea 0-0 on 5 Live as Thiago Silva with a long searching diagonal ball towards Reece James. Comes back to James again, right corner of the penalty area, enters the box. Reece James towards the byline with the cross, and then Chilwell, was there a connection there? He was looking for a penalty where he was being nudged from behind. Whether he tried it was to make too much of it. It will, I'm sure, be checked by VAR as play continues. And it's now with Thiago Silva, Chelsea looking to try and maintain the pressure. Kante on this near side. In it goes to the box. Abraham with a header, and in the end it was tipped over by Nick Pope, who will quickly nip to Millwall. Aaron Paul.
Millwall 0, Huddersfield 0. All Millwall so far in these open exchanges. Jake Cooper with the best of the chances so far. His effort held by Ben Hamer in the Huddersfield goal. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 0.
MK Dons 1, Wimbledon 1. So MK Dons have equalised, and Hull City are leading at Swindon by 1-0. Hull have won 7 of their last 9. He had to be careful, didn't he, Nick Pope?
He did. He had to touch it over the bar. It was a good cross and a good header by Tammy Abraham, but Chilwell still complained, and he felt it was a penalty moments before.
Corner kick on that right hand side. It's pulled out towards Reece James, off the chest, hits it, closed down by Barnes, flicked on then by Chilwell, skied up in the air by Wood, and because of the wind it's actually drifting back in towards the penalty area. Hasn't done the Burnley defence any favours before it's been hooked away to safety by McNeil. As not only do we have a pocket of blue sky, we now have a shaft of sunlight coming through over on that far right hand corner. So from a very wintry feel, we've now got a golden haze here at Turf Moor. Have you had a chance to see it again, that Chilwell nudge in the back?
No, I haven't, but I haven't seen it first time from open play. It just felt like Chilwell was about to head the ball, and as he was going to, you see that cross come in, should be fine. As he was about to go and make contact with it, Lowton, Brownhill, I'm going to say it was good defending. While Chilwell was in the air having jumped, they just sort of eased him from play. I think they might be showing it back now. It was a good ball by Reece James. Chilwell feels like he's in, and I haven't seen it again. I think it is a penalty. Brownhill realises he's been done. He realises the ball's about to land on the head of Chilwell, probably on line with the back post. Maybe from the other angle, maybe not enough, but certainly contact, definitely worth the question from Chilwell to the referee.
Peterborough 1, Shrewsbury Town 0 is the latest score. Where shall we go next on BBC Radio 5 Live? It's Queen's Park Rangers, and a goal for John Southall.
And Queen's Park Rangers have a rare goal. QPR 1, Cardiff 0, their first goal since the 3rd of October. Cross from the right hand side by Adoma. There was Elias Chair on the left of the area, on the volley, into the ground, into the bottom corner. QPR 1, Cardiff 0.
They need it too, without a win in 7, QPR. Another goal, well, we told you about that goal at Swindon. Details of it for Hull City from Hamish Marshall.
Yeah, Hull's good start to the season continues, and it's a really good finish from Keane Lewis. Pottery picked the ball up 30 yards, advanced to the edge of the penalty area, and a really good finish. Swindon 0, Hull 1.
And at Tannadice, Dundee United lead Ross County by 1-0 in the Scottish Premiership. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. We're also available through the BBC Sounds app, as that cross from Reece James certainly held up in the wind, didn't reach its intended target. Chilwell and Burnley, playing from left to right in their claret and sky blue jerseys, have the ball with Brownhill on the halfway line on this near side, and Westwood now will play it forward. And Lowton didn't continue his run. I think he thought that Wood was making the run in behind, and as it is, he wasn't, and it runs straight out of play and out for a goal kick to Chelsea that Mendy is going to take. So we'll go racing now to Wetherby and John Hunt for the Charlie Hall chase.
And they've just taken the first of 19 fences in. Surname jumped it beautifully. The favourite Vindication, less so, back in 5th place. A long way to go. A lot of questions for Surname to answer over the course of the next 5 or 6 minutes. He's in 3rd place with 2 circuits to go.
And we'll keep you in touch with that just on that course on the side of the A1, as Shrewsbury have equalised at Peterborough. So at London Road in League 1, it's Peterborough 1, Shrewsbury 1. Goal now at Kenilworth Road, Sahel Sahi.
Luton 0, Brentford 1. A cross into the box was cleared away by the Luton defence. Fell out to Rico Henry. He smashed it home from 20 yards away. Luton Town 0, Brentford 1.
Chilwell on this near side, just short of the halfway line as Chelsea play from right to left. Thiago Silva to Zuma. Havertz comes very, very deep, but Zuma is forced to turn because of the pressure from Ashley Barnes. All the way back to Mendy. he seems to have made a difference, the goalkeeper, doesn't he? 4 clean sheets in his 5 appearances as Abraham lays it off, and then the ball is played forward by Mason Mount. Here is Timo Werner, left-hand side of the penalty area. Werner now pulls it back, looking towards Ziyech. Sliding in was Tarkowski, and out of play it goes for a throw. It remains 0-0. Goal at Millwall now, Aaron Paul.
Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1. Josh Koroma with a fabulous effort. Well moved down the right, ball into the middle, and there was Koroma just to glance it into the far corner. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1.
Blackpool have taken the lead at Burton Albion as well. Burton Albion 0, Blackpool 1 is the latest score in League One. Chelsea are on the attack. James, right-hand side, back to Ziyech, midway through the Burnley half. Abraham's in the penalty area. Chilwell was getting forward, and it goes in front of that bouncing ball in front of Chilwell and out for a goal kick. Back to the Championship, Wycombe, Sheffield Wednesday. Katie Shanahan.
Where it's still 0-0, bright start from Wycombe. Akim Fenwa has just skimmed the bar. New signing Callum Patterson has also blasted it past the left post for the visitors, but right now it's goalless here between the bottom two, Wycombe and Sheffield Wednesday.
Barrow got their first win of the season against Mansfield on Tuesday. They're now leading at home to Bradford City by 1-0. As Northampton Town have got a second against Wigan. Wigan, who've lost 5 of their last 6. It's now Wigan 0, Northampton Town 2, and you're up to date. Pope with the goal kick, and he's pulled that well wide. He's shanked it out of play. It goes for a Chelsea throw in on this near side. Let's get an update from Stoke against Rotherham. Catherine Merry.
Stoke 0, Rotherham 0. Inside 10 minutes, Rotherham did get the ball in the net through captain Michael Ihekwe, but the assistant put his flag up. But I can tell you, Tyrese Campbell is on his toes today for Stoke. The best chance has come for the home side. A header down by Campbell into the path of James McLean, but he put it wide at close range. Stoke 0, Rotherham 0.
Ziyech, Thiago Silva, forward then to Chilwell on this near side, the left. Chilwell waits, quickly nipped back to Weatherby. John Hunt for the Racing.
They're just approaching the halfway stage. Surname still third. He's been jumping beautifully, travelling strongly. One of his rivals, though, Sam Spinner's just been pulled up. Vindication's gone second. Circuit to go, and it's all going fine for Surname at the moment.
And I'm sure we'll check in on the Charlie Hall chase very, very soon here on BBC Radio 5 Live. James to Abraham. Abraham, nice turn. Along the ground, Chilwell getting forward at every opportunity. On the overlap is Havertz on this near side, the left. Chilwell floats it into the penalty area, and Taylor let that ball bounce before clearing it. I think he knew where Ziyech was. He was quite confident in that, and he's just turned and then lifted it out of play for a Chelsea throw. There's a stoppage in play whilst Reece James wants to take the throw. No, he's happy to let the game continue. Ashley Westwood is still in the ear of the referee David Cootley on Osman.
Well, there was a coming together moment before. Kurt Zouma went to play a back pass to his goalkeeper Mendy, and he underhit it a little bit, and Ashley Barnes felt he might get onto the end of it, and Kurt Zouma just stood across him. There was a coming together. The referee didn't feel there was an awful lot in it, but Sean Dyche was apoplectic. His players are still complaining to the referee. They felt Kurt Zouma brought him down, and the referee needed to make a decision.
Livingston 0, Motherwell 1 is the latest score in the Scottish Premiership. Our featured game in League 2, Salford Oldham. Betty Glover.
It's currently Salford 1, Oldham 0. James Wilson just tapped it home from close range, his 4th goal of the season. It is Salford 1, Oldham 0.
Thiago Silva forward to Havertz. He's quite deep, isn't he, Havertz, for Chelsea?
He is. It's the way the Chelsea are operating. It's very good, to be honest. It's a good way of trying to break down this 4-4-2, this stubborn 4-4-2 of Burnley. As I said, both their fullbacks are high and wide. It allows Werner from one side to come in, Ziyech from the other side to come in, and both play like number 10s, which again has a knock-on effect on Havertz, who can then come deeper to get the ball and start the play.
Ziyech out to Mason Mount, who runs forward. Havertz now has popped up on the right hand side. Tarkowski's first touch is towards the byline, which means then it's got to be a left footed clearance to prevent it going out for a corner kick, and he duly puts it out of play into that Bob Lord stand on that far side. Chelsea have a throw. It's still 0-0. James has done well on the right hand side. He's beaten 2 men. James with a good ball in, just a little bit too close to goalkeeper Nick Pope, and it's plucked out of the air by the England international. Another goal at Deepdale. Preston Birmingham, Shojo Saka.
Yeah, Preston 1, Birmingham 1. Jaden Stockley out of nowhere on the volley from 25 yards. It's Preston's first goal at home this season in the league. Hoodoo broken. Preston 1, Birmingham 1.
Yes, and they've lost all 4 at home at Deepdale in the Championship, as McNeil has just miscontrolled a ball, and rather frustratingly from a Burnley point of view, it's gone straight out of play for a Chelsea throw. And now in the hazy sunshine, Chelsea with Kante on the halfway line, and they go back. So it's the Charlie Hall chase, it's the feature race of the day, and at Wetherby, John Hunt.
At the last, Surname's in front here. He's 2 or 3 lengths clear from Vindication and I Right. Surname jumps the last. He's in good shape this afternoon. Now just nudged out onto the run-in. Vindication trying hard to close. Surname being nursed home here. He's jumped fabulously. He's gone this way round, no problem at all today. He wins the Charlie Hall chase, and who knows, he might yet be a Cheltenham Gold Cup horse. Surname has beaten Vindication with I Right back in 3rd place.
Thank you, John. Charlton, who've won their last 4, are leading at Portsmouth by a goal to nil. As the Blue of Chelsea are on the attack, Reece James with a cross, Kevin Long forced to head it away. That was a good ball in from the right hand side. So Portsmouth 0, Charlton 1. Swansea City lead Blackburn Rovers by a goal to nil in the Championship as well. What have you made of the opening 25 minutes, Leon Osman?
Well, Chelsea are definitely on top. I think they're dangerous. Frank Lampard's got a number of players, Mount in particular, yet again.
Mount into Abraham. Challenge came in from Charlie Taylor, was a good one. That was good covering by the left back. It had to be a well-timed challenge, and indeed it was, as he slid in to challenge Abraham at the feet. As Werner now with a cut back a little bit behind Abraham. He nudges it back to Ziyech, and Ziyech shoots first time and low, and Chelsea lead by a goal to nil. And Hakim Ziyech marks his first start in the Premier League with his second of the season as Chelsea lead 1-0.
Well, it was a goal that was always coming. Chelsea have been on top since the start of this game, finding themselves in pockets of space, moving the ball from side to side. As I was saying, it all comes down to Chelsea. They've got so many players who are prepared to get turned on the ball and face up this Burnley defence. It's Ziyech initially who gets turned. He plays a cheeky ball down the side of Taylor, but I think it's for Abraham to get after. He pulls it back, just sets it into the path of Ziyech, and he just strikes it with his left foot from the edge of the penalty area, in back past that near post of Pope in the goal for Burnley. But it's a goal that's been coming, and it's all down to Chelsea dominating the middle of the park.
First time shot, struck true and low, and Chelsea lead by a goal to nil. And the awareness as well of Abraham, just to tee it up for Ziyech. Rochdale have equalised at home to Bristol Rovers. Let's get news of that Swansea City equaliser from Laura Kenyon.
And it's Swansea 1, Blackburn 0, in fact, and it was Wales international Ben Cabango who rose to head it into the left-hand side of the goal. Ainsley Pears, the Blackburn goalkeeper, had no chance. It's Swansea 1, Blackburn 0.
Yes, Swansea 1, Blackburn Rovers 0 in the Championship. Here at Turf Moor, Chelsea lead by a goal to nil. Now the thing is, can they keep the clean sheet? Because that's something that's eluded them under Frank Lampard on many occasions. In fact, the one last weekend at Old Trafford was only the second clean sheet in the Premier League away from home under Frank Lampard. The other one was against Tottenham back in December. So we'll wait and see whether they can actually go on to achieve that. Goal at Stoke City, Catherine Merry.
Stoke 1, Rotherham 0. James McLean took advantage of a long goal kick that only bounced once and has got the first goal of the game here. The home side leading 1 goal to nil.
So Barnsley lead Watford by a goal to nil. Luton 0, Brentford 1, Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1, Preston 1, Birmingham 1. Queen's Park Rangers lead Cardiff City by a goal to nil. Stoke 1, Rotherham 0, Swansea 1, Blackburn 0. That's where the goals have been in the Championship. And you can add another one at Kenilworth Road. Sahel Sahi. Hold on, Sahel. Here is Werner. Werner left hand side of the penalty area, crosses. It will reach. No, it won't. It won't reach Havertz. It was swept to safety by Charlie Taylor, and it remains Chelsea leading by a goal to nil. But at least you have another goal, Sahel.
We do, Ian, and it's gone to Brentford. Luton 0, Brentford 2. Good work down the right hand side, this time from the visitors. Cross went in, and Ivan Toney was there to poke home for his 9th league goal of the season. Luton 0, Brentford 2.
9 goals in 7 games. Not too bad, is it, from Ivan Toney? Luton Town 0, Brentford 2. Leon Osman.
Yeah, again, I was about to say when you came to me just before the Chelsea goal, the difference between Chelsea and Burnley today, and Chelsea and Tottenham that came here the other evening, is the Chelsea players are getting turned at every opportunity. They're playing on the half turn. Werner's always ready to spin in behind. He wants to be played in. Mount is turning on the ball. Ziyech has turned every time he's got the ball and tried to create something, and it's causing Burnley's midfield all sorts of problems.
Ball over the top, aimed towards Wood, held off by Zuma, no foul. says referee David Coote, who was handily placed. Newport County, the leaders of League Two, are leading Harrogate Town by a 1-0, and another goal at Queen's Park Rangers. John Southall.
They can't stop scoring now. QPR 2, Cardiff 0. Great finish. Todd Kane on the half volley, outside of the right foot, into the top right-hand corner. QPR 2, Cardiff 0.
Here is Reece James. He's 6 yards over the halfway line. Chelsea with Kante, drilled in low to the feet of Havertz. Over the halfway line he comes. He's got Werner and Chilwell ahead of him. Mount rolls it out to Chilwell. First time cross, and Pope may well be relieved to see that sail over his head and out for a goal kick. He was backpedaling rather frantically at one stage.
It looked like he had to. It was a misplaced cross, I'd say, by Chilwell. I think he was trying to bend it into that penalty area, probably to come back along the 6 yard line, and Pope just guessed for it. He tried to come out, found himself underneath the ball, and was very happy to see it drift over the top of his crossbar. When you were here on Monday, did you bring the fudge with you on Monday night? I did not. I saved that just for you, Deno.
Yeah, the world's greatest mum, vanilla fudge.
Yes.
Don't ask why Leon is carrying the world's greatest mum fudge.
Listen, it all tastes the same, whether it says dad or mum or nan.
Swindon have equalised at home to Hull City in our featured game in League One. Swindon 1, Hull City 1. We'll bring you news of that when we can from Hamish Marshall. In fact, Hamish is there at the county ground.
Yeah, that equaliser came. Hull's defence caught napping by a short corner taken from Johnny Smith, and it was the fullback Paul Caddis who smashed it in from a tight angle against the run of play. Swindon 1, Hull 1.
When you say it tastes the same, I wouldn't know. You've only offered me 2 slices.
And that was only because I was throwing them at your head.
The Six Nations come to a conclusion this weekend. Wales against Scotland. It's live on BBC One TV, and Gareth Lewis is giving us the update here on 5 Live.
I'll tell you what, you can send some fudge down to West Wales if you like. We need something to cheer us up. Not the greatest of games. Wales still lead by 7 points to 6. 12 minutes gone in this second half. They've just settled a bit though, the home side, getting on top now in the scrums and the line out. Conditions are dreadful. 7-6 Wales lead.
Good luck with that with Gareth. He might be the world's greatest mum, but he's not the world's greatest sharer. Just should tell you as well about the rugby, the change to our schedule. England-Italy is on Sports Extra at 4:45, and the reason being is that we will have here on 5 Live the Boris Johnson press conference at 5 o'clock after the football, and it's going to be Burnley who've got a corner kick. They're trailing by a 1-0. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service. So Burnley, playing from left to right, have a corner, and it comes in from that far side. That's a good, confident take from the goalkeeper, all in orange.
It is. He's been so assured since he's joined Chelsea. Mendy's come for a relatively low fee. He's quite experienced. He's not a young player, and yet he's hit the ground running. It's been terrific. He's so assured. You know, nowadays so many keepers will want to punch any ball that comes close to them. He's happy to catch it and relieve the pressure from his team, as he did then.
Chelsea, Mason Mount, seen a lot of the ball, hasn't he, the England international, as he goes back. They put in a terrific first half performance the other week against Southampton, and then when Southampton got a goal back, they became jittery, and Southampton deservedly got something from the game. But Frank Lampard will be looking for that consistency, I think, from his team, as Kante to Havertz. Havertz back to Chilwell. Chilwell's over the halfway line. Mansfield 1, Walsall 0 is the latest score in League 2. Mansfield Town, they sacked their manager Graham Coughlan on Tuesday. Richard Cooper is in caretaker charge. They're actually yet to win this season, but they're 1-0 up at Field Mill against Walsall. That's because of the presence of Brownhill. Chelsea are forced to go back, but they're being patient with the ball. Havertz again deep, comes under pressure from McNeil, back towards Mendy. Almost looks as if they're trying to draw Burnley onto them a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've played in pockets. Burnley are trying to get close to this Chelsea side. Have you just seen Havertz comfortable in possession on the edge of his own penalty area? Burnley trying to get close to him, but at the moment not getting close enough to actually make a tackle.
Here is Mason Mount, who's just floating here, there and everywhere. Chilwell on the near side, the left. Havertz now is ahead of him. It's the way that they're rotating in that midfield, as Mount with another delightful crossfield ball on the diagonal hits Reece James. Reece James has picked out Werner, just found the pocket of space, back to the goal scorer Ziyech, worked it out to James to Werner with his back to goal, can't turn. And in the end, he was just crowded out by those claret and sky blue shirts for Burnley as Zuma wrestles Wood to the ground, and that'll be a Burnley free kick, 1-0 Chelsea.
You described it right. Burnley did well just to crowd out Timo Werner as he was in the Burnley penalty area, but again, it comes from Mason Mount getting turned in the middle of the field, and then that long diagonal out to one of the fullbacks who's in such a high and wide position, and then when you get that Burnley 4-4-2 running back towards its own goal, it's very difficult to find yourself in an organised position. And Timo Werner had a poor touch when the ball came into him, should have done a little bit better. Burnley will be pleased that they managed to smother it.
Burnley still left to rue that early opportunity for Barnes when he put it over the top. You'll see that for yourself tonight on Match of the Day on BBC One. A little bit later, 10:45 tonight. Gary Lineker and the team for Burnley, who, well, haven't done so well against the established top six of late. Just one win in 24 in the Premier League, and that was against Spurs in February 2019. As Sean Dyche is in conversation with Ian Wone as the ball goes behind for a goal kick that Mendy is going to take.
Just thinking, Dano, that's as often as you bring the sweets, that. Once in 24.
Touche. I don't need to when you bring it like a walking tuck shop. Here is James, just lifting the ball forward. Ziyech nudges it out then towards Havertz. Abraham's drifted out. It's the one thing to admire about this Chelsea side, isn't it? The way that they're moving. You know, Abraham on that occasion collects the ball on the right-hand side. Now he goes central. Chilwell pops it up into the centre. It goes behind Abraham. But I would imagine, as a defender and a midfielder, you know, you've got your work cut out trying to keep a track on these Chelsea players, the way that they're moving around.
Yeah, they've been so unpredictable in the play. Yes, now they're defending. They've all filtered back into their positions. A back four, you've got Kante in front, Havertz and Mount and Ziyech and Werner go to either side. So they start from a base, but as soon as they get in possession, you're right, they rotate, they swap positions, fullbacks go high, they come deep. And as a team and as a player playing against it, if you're not quite sure where the man you're marking's going to, should you follow him, you end up in a space that is unpredictable for you. That's where you find yourself getting attacked on.
Josh Falkingham has been sent off for Harrogate, so they're trailing now at Newport by 1-0. Newport 1, Harrogate 0, and they're now down to 10 men. Chilwell motors forward on the left-hand side, sends over the cross, and it's turned behind by Taylor, because again it was another inviting ball in from the left-hand side.
Oh, it was so inviting. It tempted Pope to come out and get the ball, and he couldn't. And Chilwell's asking Timo Werner why he stopped, whether he felt the goalkeeper was going to claim the cross. He just stopped his run. If he'd have kept going, he could have had an easy tap in with his head at the back post.
That's the former Everton and England international Leon Osman here on BBC Radio 5 Live from the corner on the right hand side to Werner, to Abraham. Couldn't get the header on target, cleared away by Long at the back for Burnley. High bouncing ball that James has come across to this near side, the Chelsea left, to help bring under control, and then with Kante they go further back all the way to Mendy, and Mendy will just carry it back into his penalty area. Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1 was the result in the Premier League earlier on. Bristol City 1, Norwich 3rd, so Norwich goes second in the table behind Reading, and the result in League 1 was Gillingham 0, Sunderland 2. Phil Parkinson's side just 4 points off the top now, and in the early game in League 2 it was Exeter who beat Carlisle by 1-0 to end Carlisle's 6-match unbeaten run. In fact, Exeter now are undefeated in 9. As Burnley trailing by 1-0, Westwood, short dark hair, back it goes to this near side, ball played forward by Lowton, former Sheffield United player of course. Westwood now just short of the halfway line under pressure from Kante, and the challenge was a foul, and that's a free kick to Burnley that they're going to take quickly. No, they're not, they're going to leave it to Lowton. Still trailing by 1-0, and we've got about 7 minutes to go to half time.
We do, and just to show you how much domination Chelsea have had in this first half, Burnley have made a slight tactical change just to try and get them the ball. Ashley Barnes has come all the way out onto this right hand side like a 4-2-3-1. Dale Stephens has gone into the middle to thicken Burnley's team up, and Chris Wood is a lone striker at the moment. It's very rare you see Burnley make those kind of tactical changes. It just shows you how much of the ball and how dangerous this Chelsea side have been.
So bearing in mind now, are you expecting, with Barnes now playing on Chilwell, the Chelsea left back, are you expecting a lot more aerial balls in the direction of Barnes?
Yeah, I would probably expect so. I think that Burnley have struggled, bar in that first 5 minutes when they actually did look dangerous with balls over the top of Zuma and Thiago Silva. They've struggled to get out, and I think that could be an avenue for them.
Taylor's forward on the left-hand side. He's picked out Stevens. Stevens now with Barnes coming into a central area inside the D. He pulls it back. McNeil couldn't get the shot away. He's worked it back out towards the left-hand side. First time cross by Taylor and stabbed out of play low by Zuma for a throw. It was one of the rare opportunities in this first half that we've seen Burnley venture forward. Taylor ready to take the throw on that far side. Chelsea still lead by a goal to nil. BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service here as Bradford City are now down to 10 men, trailing at Barrow by a goal to nil, and Stuart McCall's side are down to 10 men. Levi Sutton has been sent off as Leyton Orient have got a second goal at home to Bolton Wanderers. Leyton Orient 2, Bolton Wanderers 0, and there are no other goals to tell you about as we're approaching half time. 5 minutes to go to the break. Don't forget that Boris Johnson press conference at 5. You'll hear it here on BBC Radio 5 Live with a rugby switch to Sports Extra, which gets underway at 4:45. McNeil into the centre circle with Westwood, but they're not really hurting Chelsea. They're in that middle area of the field here in these brightening now conditions at Turf Moor. And now it's with Westwood, who takes it over left side of the centre circle and finds Taylor, the left back, 10 yards inside the Chelsea half, but Taylor is held up and Burnley are forced to go back. I mentioned England against Ireland, Wales against Scotland. Gareth Lewis.
A try at last and a gloomy second half otherwise, in all honesty. Scotland have taken the lead, power and precision. Replacement hooker Stuart McAnally bulldozing his way over from a catch and drive at the line out. Scotland lead by 11 points to 7.
And coverage on BBC One television as the ball is played forward, cut out by Stevens, played forward now to Wood. Wood to McNeil, 30 yards out from goal. Ziyech sliding back, doesn't prevent it reaching Taylor, who takes it on into the penalty area. Good covering, and it was James getting the block in, and behind it goes for a corner kick, and Burnley enjoying a good spell of pressure. Leon Osman.
Well, they've just managed to get a bit of the ball. You mentioned in your commentary that they're not a threat really at the moment, but at least they've got out of, at least they're playing in Chelsea's half now, moving the ball from side to side. Chelsea haven't quite worked out the pockets of positions they're picking up and able to stop them at the moment, so Burnley on the attack.
Corner taken short, played in by McNeil, headed away by Thiago Silva, only as far as Taylor. Taylor chips it long off the chest by Abraham inside his penalty area, tried to release Werner, cut out by a sliding Brownhill into the penalty area, and there was a foul there on Thiago Silva, spotted by the referee David Coote. And Doncaster Rovers are leading Lincoln City by a goal to nil, so the leaders Lincoln of League One are behind there. Doncaster, in fact, they're unbeaten away from home. They've won their last 3 of Michael Appleton's side, but it's Doncaster who lead by a goal to nil. Leon Osman.
Yeah, Burnley looking better since they've slightly changed the system. They're moving the ball further up the field, starting to create chances, starting to get people closer to Chris Wood, despite Ashley Barnes moving further away. They're getting, Dale Stevens is getting close, then Ashley Barnes is up on the right hand side, McNeil is up on the left hand side, and just starting to look a little bit more like Burnley with the pressure they're getting.
Do you often find as you sit in these socially distanced press boxes that people find novel ways to try and attract each other's attention?
I don't know what you're talking about, Ian.
I know for a fact that the world's greatest mummy, not the world's greatest aim either. Here is Dale Stevens as he loses out to Havertz, and Havertz will run forward. Crawley 1, Cambridge 1, so Crawley have got an equaliser. Leyton Orient have got a third now at home to Bolton Wanderers as Werner inside to to Mount, shot charged down. It was a good block by McNeil, cleared away by Taylor, and the 10 men of Harrogate have actually equalised against the League 2 leaders Newport County. Newport 1, Harrogate Town 1, and Peterborough are back in front. They now lead Shrewsbury by 2-1 at London Road. But here on BBC Radio 5 Live, with 60 seconds to go to half time, it's still Chelsea leading by a goal to nil.
I thought we were going to talk Harrogate and their big game against my local town, Skem United, in the FA Cup. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. That's next week, is it?
I think so, yeah. Chelsea on top still in this game. Not created a chance in the last 5 or 10 minutes or so, but they've oozed class, I think, today, Chelsea. They've moved the ball at pace. They've been really pleasing on the eye.
Chilwell only partially cleared the ball away. It's with Stevens on this near side for Burnley, but that's just sold Lowton a little bit short. It allowed Mount to dive in to win it back for Chelsea. They've protected Mendy very, very well, haven't they? You think just that one early scare, and that wasn't any Halloween reference. It was literally a scare for Chelsea. But that's been about it as the wind picks up here in Lancashire.
It has. They started in the opening 5 minutes trying to knock the ball over from a diagonal, from a full-back, knock the ball over the opposite centre half of Chelsea, over the top of Zuma and over the top of Thiago, hoping that the full-backs of Chelsea had advanced, and it worked for 5 minutes or so, created that chance. But Chelsea have figured them out, brought Kante deeper, and now with their full-backs high, create chances.
James with a cross, that's a good ball, and it was excellent defending by Long. The flag was actually raised anyway. It wouldn't have counted against Timo Werner, who was straight into an offside position. It's been a day of fluctuating weather here and in Lancashire. I would imagine it's quite serene at Bournemouth. Jonathan, Overend.
Heading down the beach later, it's gorgeous. So Derby still leading 1-0 here at Bournemouth, but they've got goalkeeper David Marshall to thank for that brilliant point-blank save from Solanke, tipping it over the bar. Bournemouth 0, Derby 1.
It's always serene, isn't it, in Bournemouth?
I wouldn't know. I very rarely venture that far to the country. The north, the cold north, is as far as I go normally.
Didn't see how much added on time there was to be played here. 1 minute, in fact. So that's the reason, because so 1 minute of stoppage time here at Turf Moor. And Chelsea still lead by 1-0. That goal after 26 minutes by Hakim Ziyech.
I think they've done well, Chelsea, to lose an influential player in the warm-up as they did, Pulisic, the man who scored a hat-trick here last year, and then to start the game as well as they have, to play as well as they have, and find themselves 1-0 up at half-time.
So half-time, the whistle has sounded, and Chelsea lead by 1-0. That goal from Ziyech after 26 minutes. And after Katie Shanahan has told you about a goal at Adams Park, it'll be Lord Chapman who'll pick up the reins.
Yes, as Wycombe go into the lead here, it's Wycombe 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0. You felt it was coming. Well, it came from a corner. Joe Jacobson whipped it in, and David Wheeler with a fine header to get his first championship goal of the season, as Wycombe lead here by 1-0 going into the break.
They're in trouble at Sheffield Wednesday. Very comfortable first half for Chelsea then, Leon.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that Burnley tried to change their system to get back into the game towards the end of the first half, but for the majority, Chelsea dominated. They were comfortable, they were getting turned in the middle of midfield, full-backs were high, they were wide, and they were causing a huge threat. I think that if they'd have gone in at half-time 2-0 or more, I don't think you could have really complained, but Burnley have been stubborn. They've tried to defend their goal, they've tried to defend their penalty area, and they've managed to get in 1-0 at half-time.
Hold on to that fudge, don't share it with him.
He never brings his own. I'm always having to offer my fudge, and then he complains when I throw him one during the commentary.
It hit me on the side of the head.
I've got visions of him spending half time chasing you around the press box like some 1970s farce, trying to get it off you. Right, back to those two for the second half. Shortly, Motherwell have got a second on the stroke of half time in the Scottish Premiership. Livingston 0, Motherwell 2. Let's go round the half times in the Championship, starting at Oakwell and Tom Gale.
Barnsley 1, Watford 0. Captain Alex Mowatt's early screamer from distance, just a few inches off being postage stamped left-hand corner. Goal of the season contender. Ben Foster had no chance, but it did come from Watford trying to play out. They've had most of the possession, the visitors. £25 million man Ismail Assar looking very likely, but 0 shots on target for them. At half-time, Barnsley 1, Watford 0.
Bournemouth unbeaten in the Championship this season. That record is under threat at half-time. Jonathan Overend.
It is Bournemouth 0, Derby 1 here. Wayne Rooney back to captain the Derby side today after missing the last 3 in self-isolation, and he's been central to all their good work. He's playing just left of centre today, but he set up Waghorn early on, Clark with a header from a free kick, and then it was his free kick into the wall which started a goalmouth scramble, and then the Derby goal poked in by Graham Shinney. Bournemouth, if we're honest, haven't offered much at all. Just a flurry towards half-time with a couple of chances, both falling to Dominic Solanke, the best of them, brilliantly saved, tipped over at point-blank range by the excellent David Marshall. Half-time, Bournemouth 0, Derby 1.
In League One, Shrewsbury are 2-1 down at Peterborough, and they'll play the second half with 10 men. Josh Vella has been sent off on the stroke of half-time. Let's go back to the Championship and Millwall-Huddersfield. Aaron Paul.
Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1. Josh Karoma's goal separates the sides, although it is Millwall who have been the better of the sides. Arguably, they've had the better of the chances. Scott Malone, Jake Cooper and Conor Mahoney have all tested Ben Hamer in the Huddersfield goal, but Karoma's glancing finish gives Carlos Corberan's side the lead at the break. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1.
To the Liberty Stadium next. Laura Kenyon watching Swansea-Blackburn.
Swansea 1, Blackburn 0. Swansea had a penalty shout turned down just before the end of the first half. Later, Blackburn had an opportunity down the other end, but it really is end-to-end stuff. That headed goal from Ben Cabango, the difference. At half-time, it's Swansea 1, Blackburn 0.
Shojo Saka has seen goals at Deepdale.
Yeah, it's been good. Preston 1, Birmingham 1. A frantic start, Mark, at Deepdale saw Birmingham take the lead in the second minute through the Australian loanee Riley McGree on his debut. He's been superb. Preston levelled up midway through the first half. A sumptuous volley from Jayden Stockley from 25 yards out. Preston will be really relieved to finally have scored a league goal at home this season. Evenly matched, Preston 1, Birmingham 1.
Stoke suffered their first defeat in 8 during the week, beaten 2-0 at Swansea. Are they getting back on track this afternoon at home to Rotherham? Catherine Merry.
They are indeed, chappers. Stoke 1, Rotherham 0. The 27th minute goal from James McLean, his second of the season, the difference so far. A long goal kick from Angus Gunn glanced off Stephen Fletcher's head through to McLean, and he chipped the ball over Blackman into the net. Stoke's 10th league goal of the season, their 7th at home. They have had chances, Rotherham, including Mikael Miller's driving ball just above Stoke's goal, but at the moment the home side are leading the way, 1-0 over Rotherham.
Good first half for Brentford at Luton. Sahil Sahi.
Yeah, very good, Mark. They're purring and they lead at the break by 2-0. Goals from Rico Henry, a 20-yard sizzler, and a toe poke from Ivan Toney, the difference. Luton are not too far off the pace. It's the slick counter-attacks and finishing that has the visitors in control. Half-time then here, Luton Town 0, Brentford 2.
Cardiff thrashed 6-1 at QPR on New Year's Day last season. They haven't had a great first 45 minutes this season. John Southall.
No, they're not enjoying it again. QPR 2, Cardiff 0. Deserved half-time lead. Elias Chair with the first volley into the ground, into the top right-hand corner. The second, brilliant work by Chair on the left-hand side. Picked out Todd Kane and he volleyed into the same corner. The piped-in crowd noise went mad. Cardiff have been poor, yet to have a shot on target. And QPR, bizarrely, playing in red and white halves this afternoon. A new limited edition third kit for the 45th anniversary of their 75-76 season. It's clearly working. They lead by 2-0.
Is that quite convoluted?
Yeah, it's as you will well remember, the 75-76 season. They missed out on the league title by 1 point. The old First Division. I thought they might wear it away from home because it was their old away kit. So it's very odd seeing them playing at home in red and white halves.
Wickham lead Sheffield Wednesday by a goal to nil at half-time. Katie Shanahan gave us details of that goal. It's goalless at the Riverside at half-time between Middlesbrough and Nottingham Forest. Connie.
It is goalless just now. Borough were busy, Mark. Absolutely nothing to show for it, though. No idea how. Their best opportunity fell to Britt Assombalonga. He found himself one-on-one with the Forest goalkeeper Bryce Samba. The shot came off the keeper, found the feet of Marcus Tavernier. He was there, you thought it was a foregone conclusion, but he managed to shoot over the bar. One of those ones where he left with his head in his hands, wondering what could have been. Forest struggling for an answer, it has to be said, to the Borough possession. It's windy, it's not pretty, but Middlesbrough definitely should be ahead. At half-time it's Middlesbrough 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Give you all the other half-time shortly. Let's just nip to Wales, Scotland in the Six Nations, which, looking on social media and hearing from you, Gareth, hasn't sounded great.
No, never mind the piped-in crowd noise going mad. It would have gone home about half an hour ago, Mark, in all honesty, if it had the chance. Scotland lead, so as things stand, they will end that 18-year run without a win on Welsh soil. 11-10 their lead. Lee Halfpenny has scored a penalty for Wales since you were last with us, but Scotland have now lost Adam Hastings as well as Finn Russell, so both fly halves off injured. Stuart Hogg has moved to sort of stand-in number 10, if you like. That's a big worry for Scotland with the Autumn Nations Cup looming, but they do lead by 11 points to 10, 8 minutes to go in Llanelli.
Okay, thank you, Gareth. Right, into League One in the early game, 10-man Gillingham beaten 2-0 at home by Sunderland. Burton, bottom of the table, just won 1 of 13 games this season. They're behind at half-time to Blackpool. Burton 0, Blackpool 1. Doncaster lead the leaders Lincoln by a goal to 0. Ben Whiteman's third of the season, the difference between the two sides there. The earliest goal in the 3 o'clock games came at Fleetwood. Callum Camp's got it, his 6th of the season. They lead Oxford by a goal to 0. Is Ipswich 0, Crewe 0, MK Dons 1, AFC Wimbledon 1. Joe Piggott's 4th of the season put AFC Wimbledon ahead. MK Dons equalising through Scott Fraser's 3rd of the season. It's Peterborough 2, Shrewsbury 1. It was Clark Harris's 6th of the season, Dembele's 3rd of the season. The 2 goals for Peterborough, as Shrewsbury are down to 10 in that game. Portsmouth 0, Charlton 1, Rochdale 1, Bristol Rovers 1, Wigan are 2-0 down at home to Northampton, and Swindon Hull, Hamish Marshall.
It's Swindon 1, Hull 1. The home side have done well to get themselves back on even terms in this one. They've lost the last 4 league games, but it was Paul Caddis's goal from a short corner that made it 1-1. Hull really dominated the first 25 minutes of this game. They could go top with a win here today. Deservedly, they led through Keane Lewis Potter's 6th goal of the season, but it's all square at the break.
Into League 2 in the early game, it finished Exeter 1, Carlisle 0. Carlisle played the last half hour with 10 men in that game. Barrow lead Bradford City by a goal to 0, and Bradford are down to 10 in that game as well. Forest Green Rovers have won 5 of their last 6 games, but they are behind at Cheltenham. Cheltenham lead Forest Green Rovers by a goal to 0. It's Crawley 1, Cambridge United 1. Joe Ironside got Cambridge's goal. That's his 5th of the season. Great first half for Leyton Orient, who lead Bolton by 3 goals to 0, thanks to Danny Johnson's 9th of the season, Joby McAnuff, and Connor Wilkinson's 7th of the season. Mansfield 1, Walsall 0. They're yet to win this season, are Mansfield, so that's a good first half for them. Newport 1, Harrogate 1, although Harrogate are down to 10 men in that game. Podrick Ammond put Newport ahead, his 4th of the season. Will Smith equalising for Harrogate. Salford lead Oldham by a goal to 0, and it's goalless between Southend and Port Vale, Stevenage and Grimsby, and Tranmere and Morecambe. In the National League, it's Bromley 0, Eastleigh 0. Altrincham are 1-0 up at Dover. Kings Lynn 1, Woking 2. Maidenhead 0, Solihull Moors 1. Stockport lead Weymouth by a goal to 0. And it's Yeovil 0, Chesterfield 0. In the Scottish Premiership, just 2 games kicked off at 3 o'clock. Dundee United lead Ross County by a goal to 0. And it's Livingston 0, Motherwell 2. In the Championship, Dundee 1, Wraith 0. Charlie Adam getting the goal for Dundee. Leaders Dunfermline lead Queen of the South by 2 goals to 0. It's Inverness 0, Arbroath 1. And Morton 0, Ayr 1. In League 1 this afternoon, Airdrieonians 0, Dumbarton 1, Clyde 0, Peterhead 0, Cove Rangers 0, Partick Thistle 0, Falkirk lead East Fife by a goal to 0. If that stays the same, they'll go level on points with Cove Rangers at the top of the table, and it's Forfar 0, Montrose 1. And in League 2 in Scotland this afternoon, Albion Rovers 0, Brechin 1, Cowdenbeath 0, Stenhouse Muir 0. Edinburgh City lead Elgin City. They're the top 2 by a goal to 0. Stirling 1, Annan 0, and Stranraer 0, Queen's Park 0. You're up to date with all the football at 4:45. Italy against England in the Six Nations will be on Sports Extra with Chris Jones.
Yeah, hopefully some more entertaining fare in the 2 other Six Nations games today, Mark. And that should be the case with England, Ireland and France all needing to rack up the points to win the title. England averaged more than 40 points a game against Italy in the Six Nations. More of the same today, and they'll move into the driving seat before France host Ireland tonight in Paris. But regardless of what England do, it'll be in Ireland's hands. A bonus point win for Andy Farrell's side will seal them the championship, although that's a tall order against a rejuvenated France who, remember, beat England on the opening weekend of this championship almost 9 months to the day ago.
Sports Extra and BBC Sounds for that, and then once the Prime Minister's press conference is over, we'll get as much of Italy-England here on 5 Live, and then France-Ireland will be here on 5 Live from 8:05 after a BBC News special between 7 and 8. And for the latest news now at exactly 4 o'clock, here's Stuart Clarkson.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Mark. Sir Sean Connery has died at the age of 90. His son says he died peacefully in his sleep at his home in the Bahamas overnight, having been unwell for some time. The current James Bond, Daniel Craig, says Sir Sean defined an era and a style and helped create the modern blockbuster. The former First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond, described him as the world's greatest Scot, the last of the real Hollywood stars and the definitive Bond. Also today, Boris Johnson is chairing a cabinet meeting this afternoon as he considers a month-long lockdown across England. A new stay-at-home order is expected to be announced with schools, colleges and universities exempt, but non-essential shops would have to close. The Prime Minister is due to give an update at 5 o'clock, which we'll bring you here on 5 Live. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, meanwhile, says people should avoid travel to and from England except for essential purposes. And rescue teams are continuing to search through the rubble of yesterday's powerful earthquake in Izmir in Turkey. 27 people were killed and more than 800 injured in Turkey, as well as on the Greek island of Samos.
Hear the best of 5 Live Sport on BBC Sounds. Rugby Union Weekly.
If I can be part of a squad that is the first extra chief squad to win the Heineken Cup, yeah, I'll put my cowboy hat on and I'll walk off into the sunset. I'll be pretty happy with it.
Bringing you special guests and the inside track on the important issues in the game.
Alapati Leua just wouldn't let me go. I was trying to go to bed, but him and Chris Louis had me tied up.
Literally? Literally?
Not literally.
I played a long time ago with Hugo. Hugo's 10 years into a media career and I'm still playing.
Rugby Union Weekly, available now on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
A couple of other sports stories from the day. Lewis Hamilton had to settle for second in tomorrow's Grand Prix at Imola. He was edged out by his Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen is third. And surname has been cut to just 4-1 for Boxing Day's King George at Kempton after jumping brilliantly on the way to a narrow but convincing win in this afternoon's Charlie Hall chase at Wetherby. 5 o'clock kick-off for the Scottish Cup semi-final between Hearts and Hibs. Roddy Forsyth.
Yes, and Hearts have a grievance. They were relegated last season by the vote of their Premiership peers, so Robbie Nielsen's side have a point to make to add to their good start in the Championship. Hibs also want to make a mark. They were the last team to win the Scottish Cup before Celtic. That was back in 2016 against Rangers. One certainty is that this isn't an afternoon for thoughtful football. Storm Aiden is so fierce I've had to gaffer tape my laptop to the worktop.
Thank you very much, Roddy. So at 5 o'clock here on 5 Live, we will bring you the Prime Minister's press conference. The rugby will start on Sports Extra and on the BBC Sounds app. And then once the press conference is over, we'll get as much of Italy, England here on 5 Live. France, Ireland definitely here on 5 Live from 8 o'clock. Back to Turf Moor. Chelsea a goal to the good at half-time. Leon Osman and Ian Dennis.
And just back underway. And familiar scoreline really for Burnley. They've lost both of their home matches by a 0-0 against Southampton and Spurs, and that's how they trail Chelsea here at Turf Moor. But Sean Dyche has made a change at half-time. He's taken off Dale Stephens. He's brought on Jay Rodriguez. So Burnley in their claret and sky blue shirts and white shorts, playing now in the second half from right to left as we look. Have Pope in goal, a back four of Loughton, Tarkowski, Long and Taylor, the midfield of Brownhill, Westwood, McNeil, who's gone out towards that right hand side, Rodriguez, and then the front two still of Barnes and Chris Wood. For Chelsea, Mendy's in goal, back four of James, Zuma, Silva and Chilwell, Mount and Kante in the midfield, Ziyech the goal scorer, Havertz and Werner behind Abraham. In comes the free kick for Burnley. As you might be able to hear from our effects mic, it's a little blustery here in Lancashire, but nothing came of that Burnley free kick, although they have won it back through McNeil. And then Taylor delivers the ball from the left hand side, and Abraham was back there on the edge of the Chelsea penalty area to clear the ball away. It's put back in on the diagonal by Loughton. On the half volley, cleared away by Reece James as Burnley looking to try and make a strong start. Westwood though has overhit that ball. Nothing Barnes can do about that, and it peters out as it runs out for a goal kick. So on BBC Radio 5 Live, it is still Chelsea leading through that Ziyech goal, his first in the Premier League after 26 minutes, and 1-0 it is. And alongside me, Leon Osman.
Yeah, well, Burnley have done with the half-time substitution. They've stuck with the system they finished with. Chris Wood stayed right up through the middle. Ashley Barnes has come all the way over as an outside left. Jay Rodriguez has gone as an outside right. McNeil's gone sort of in the pocket in the number 10 position, which is leaving Westwood and Brownhill as a normal midfield two, which is different for Burnley. They've stuck with this system, come away from the regimented two up front. I think we'll see two up front at times, three up front at times. They'll try and get the ball forward as quickly as possible, try and hope this new system works.
Ball chipped in behind Rodriguez. It's laid back to the substitute though by Barnes, and then cleared by Chilwell. Full time in Wales now, the Six Nations against Scotland. Gareth Lewis.
Yeah, first win in Wales for Scotland for 18 years. They won by 14 points to 10. Jubilation from their players on the final whistle. They could still finish third in the Six Nations table. For Wales, though, a dreadful championship, from defending champions to just a win over Italy. Not a good look. 1 point of concern for the Scots. Both fly halves, Adam Hastings and Finn Russell, went off injured. Scotland are winners, though, by 14 points to 10.
You mentioned Italy. They're taking on England, and that'll be on 5 Live Sports Extra from 4:45 because of the Boris Johnson press conference that we'll have for you here at 5 o'clock on BBC Radio 5 Live. As Burnley press, Chelsea go back to Mendy, bright orange goalkeeping outfit away towards our left-hand side, and Zuma and he exchange passes before Zuma hits it long over the head of Abraham, and Kevin Long at the heart of that Burnley defence will then play it out towards that far side. Wouldn't really settle too much for Lowton. He had to go further back towards the goalkeeper Pope, all in green. Skies that downfield, stabbed into the path of Kante by Werner, kept alive by Havertz, back towards Werner, who was then caught by Long, and a free kick, and it might well result in a yellow card. The first booking of the game goes to the Burnley central defender.
Yeah, it was a tackle he felt he had to make. Werner had actually skipped past him and he just cynically brought him to the ground, but with Timo Werner skipping away, running at the remaining centre half with a runner either side of him, I think it's one of those ones you call a good yellow card to take.
So this is a free kick for Chelsea, who lead by a 1-0. Central position, it's a good 30 yards out. They're attacking the end that normally those travelling supporters from Chelsea would be housed at the cricket end of Turf Moor, away towards our right. We've seen James score from distance. Mason Mount is also there. Burnley have quite a high line on the edge of their penalty area. James will walk away now. It's going to be left towards Mason Mount. Mason Mount strikes it right-footed and found the range, but not necessarily the power. And in the end, it was a comfortable save, just dropping in around knee height for Pope to take as he falls forward.
Yeah, Pope didn't try and gamble with Mason Mount going over the wall. Mount went goalkeeper's side. Pope hadn't really moved. He was in a great position, just scooped down low. Made what looked like an easy save.
Southend United 0, Port Vale 1. Southend United bottom of League 2 and still yet to win. As here in the Premier League, Manchester City beat Sheffield United by a 0 earlier. Kyle Walker, the England international, on his return to Bramall Lane with the only goal of the game. Bristol City 1, Norwich City 3 was the result in the Championship. Phil Parkinson's Sunderland won away at Gillingham by 2-0, 4 points off the top, and Exeter 1, Carlisle 0 was the early result in League 2. But here, a latest at Turf Moor, with still the wind buffeting that Burnley flag that flies on this top of the Bob Lord stand on that far side. It's Burnley looking for an equaliser, but they've struggled for goals. Only 1 goal in open play this season. The fewest amount of goals in the Premier League when it comes to open play. They've only scored 3 altogether, of course. As Havertz now for Chelsea, in the royal blue, playing from left to right, ahead of him, Ziyech back inside to Havertz. Havertz just outside the penalty area, pulls this one back, and Mason Mount with a shot right-footed, always on the rise, around head height, claimed by goalkeeper Pope.
Well, it's a terrific play again by Chelsea. Ends up with Mason Mount having the shot at the end of the move, but Ziyech and Havertz are linking up so well. They just seem to have a real understanding, a real quality in possession. They don't like to give the ball away. They like to pass and move and find pockets of space. And at the minute, Burnley haven't found an answer to it.
There's no sports report tonight because of that Boris Johnson press conference at 5 o'clock. BBC Sport website, of course, will keep you up to date, and the BBC Sport app with the various sporting stories. But Surname won the big race of the day, the Charlie Hall Chase at Wetherby at 3:20. You might want to look ahead for a preview of the big fight tonight, Derek Chisora against Alexander Usyk. And of course we'll have our team, Mike Costello, Steve Bunce and Dillian White at the Wembley Arena for the boxing at 10:30 that you can hear on BBC Radio 5 Live, and of course through the BBC Sounds app as well if you select Radio 5 Live. This is the Premier League. Chelsea still lead by 1-0, and Frank Lampard, given that Chelsea's away form has been a little bit indifferent, when he first took over he won the first 5 of his 6 Premier League away matches, but he's since only won 5 of the 16 league games on their travel since. But should they win, they would move to within a point of Wolves, Liverpool. Who's the other team who's at the top, Leon?
Forget. Like you're not going to say it yourself?
I know, I was only teasing. Havertz across. In fact, we'll have news of Everton tomorrow. One of our many commentaries on 5 Live Premier League Sunday.
It'll be a big result this for Chelsea, and not least because they want to start winning away from home and moving up the league, but they've dominated this first opening hour of the game. So if they were to not come away with all 3 points, if they were to let this control slip, I think that would be very disappointing for Frank Lampard, who, when you're dominating games like this, you have to come away with a victory.
Yes, the Premier League leaders Everton, they're at Newcastle tomorrow at 2, Manchester United, Arsenal at 4:30, Tottenham against Brighton at 7:15. All the games on 5 Live Premier League Sunday tomorrow. Of course, they might not necessarily be top after Liverpool against West Ham United, which is underway at 5:30 a little later on. But here at Turf Moor, Chelsea looking to try and close the gap on that leading front 3 in the Premier League as we go into the Championship. Bournemouth, Derby County, Jonathan Overend.
Still leading 1-0, but Bournemouth already looking better, with Joshua King having come on at half-time for Junior Stanislas, who took a knock on the knee in the first half. Solanke's playing deeper. Bournemouth getting more of the ball here in the second period, but trailing 1-0 to Derby.
Dundee United 2, Ross County 0 is the latest score in the Scottish Premiership, and there's been another goal at the county ground in League One. Hamish Marshall.
Swindon have come from a goal down to lead here by 2-1. Their second goal from Joe Grant, set up by Hallam Hope, and he took it well from the edge of the box. Swindon 2, Hull 1.
Leicester heard the leaders Lincoln were behind at Doncaster. Ipswich were at home to Crewe, who are in third, yet to try and take advantage. Penalty now at Queen's Park Rangers. John Southall.
A chance for Cardiff to get back into this one. Queen's Park Rangers lead by 2-0 against Cardiff. Kiefer Moore was brought down in the penalty area, and Joe Rawls is about to step up and take this one, looking for his first goal of the season with his left foot. Strikes it well and into the bottom left-hand corner. QPR 2, Cardiff 1.
Cardiff, who've drawn their last 3 and will still be looking to try and salvage something from that in West London. 2-1 then to QPR is the latest score. Chelsea still lead here 1-0 as the ball is hit downfield by Pope, and it runs out of play over on that far side for a Chelsea throw. Let's get an update from the Liberty Stadium. Swansea Blackburn, Laura Kenyon.
No changes for either side. Blackburn with the first opportunities of the second half. A deflected shot from close range from midfielder Corey Evans went wide. We've just seen a shot saved as well from the league's top goal scorer, Adam Armstrong. Currently though, Swansea 1, Blackburn 0.
Burnley with Taylor on the halfway line. Burnley playing from right to left. 5 Live in the World Service. Inside then to McNeil. Comes under pressure, forced to go back. Tarkowski just dropping back in front of the 2 central defenders was Westwood. Chips the ball out towards the right hand side, brought under control, then played inside to McNeil, roving around. Barnes is crying out for the ball on this near side, the left, but Burnley at the minute are slow to get it to him. In fact, they actually switch it to Brownhill, who drifts out towards the right hand side, but they're playing in front of Chelsea, and Chelsea are very, very comfortable. We'll go back to the Championship and Aaron Paul.
0-0 Huddersfield 1. Exciting start to the second half here. Chances of both sides, and Alex Pearce has rolled the dice, making an attacking change, throwing Matt Smith into Millwall attack, and he's got work to do. It's Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1.
McNeil picks it up, forward ball towards Barnes, but Reece James, the right back, tucked in, showed his strength to help clear for Chelsea, and it goes out of play for a Burnley throw. But they're in an area of the field where they're not really hurting Chelsea, and Chelsea would be quite happy for them to see Burnley have the ball in this part of the field, as now they play it out wide and Taylor can come forward. Ziyech, the goal scorer, tracking him, the cut back edge of the area, and there was Timo Werner to get it back and for Chelsea. Havertz ball forward, cut out though by Brownhill. Barnes able to turn, will shoot from distance, and tested the goalkeeper Mendy. It was a low left-footed effort that just drifted wide as it dropped in front of the left-hand post. As into the Championship we will go. Barnsley, Watford, Tom Gale.
Barnsley 1, Watford 0. Ian, Alex Mowatt's early screamer still the difference. Watford seen plenty of the ball but still yet to register a shot on my target. Plenty of offensive weapons on the bench though. As I look to my left I can see Will Hughes and Andre Gray both limbering up. It's Barnsley 1, Watford 0.
Tranmere 0, Morecambe 1 is the latest score in League 2. When you're struggling for goals from open play, it's worth a little dig, that, wasn't it, from Barnes?
Yeah, it was worth an effort. I think what Burnley are doing at the moment, they've changed their system slightly. They've got their 3 strikers on, but 2 of them are playing really wide at the moment. And I think what would scare Chelsea more if Barnes and Jay Rodriguez would have stood closer to Chris Wood. When they knock this long ball, now Pope's playing it long. When Chris Wood wins that header, if they've then got 2 runners, 2 players playing up alongside him, yes, they'll sacrifice ball in the wider areas. But I think that'd be a much bigger threat for Burnley and a bigger scare for Chelsea to have to defend.
Wycombe, Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. Katie Shanahan.
Yeah, it's still 1-0 to Wycombe, but Sheffield Wednesday have come out firing. Jack Marriott has gone close. His shot from outside the box was blocked. Callum Patterson has headed wide too. The visitors, who sit at the foot of the table, desperate to find the equaliser. Right now, though, it's still Wycombe 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
Free kick awarded to Burnley as a firework is let off outside the stadium. McNeil was adjudged to have been fouled. So once again, the blue shirts of Chelsea will drop back and create a line just outside the D. So a lot of protection there for goalkeeper Mendy. Burnley playing from right to left, attacking the Jimmy McIlroy stand. It's Westwood who hits it right-footed, doesn't reach the edge of the area. Little mistake from Havertz though, and all of a sudden it's presented it back to Barnes to Rodriguez, shot from Tarkowski off target, goal kick, and Chelsea still lead by 1-0. Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest in the Championship. Conor McLaughlin.
Yeah, it's still goalless at the moment. Nottingham Forest definitely starting this one better in the second half than they did in the first. Miguel Angel Guerrera forced a brilliant block from close range by Nathan Woods. Christie, who floated in the initial cross. So things opening up a little bit more here at the Riverside, but it is still Middlesbrough 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Leyton Orient 4, Bolton Wanderers 0 is the latest score now in League 2. Burnley is seeing a lot of the ball, Leon Osman.
Yeah, by changing the system, they just denied Chelsea the easy opportunity to get out from the goalkeeper. We've seen Mendy already take 3 or 4 goal kicks and have to play them long. Or Thiago Silva getting the ball in defence, having to play much longer passes because there's nothing easy. So credit to Burnley, starting to get a grips of this game, starting to put Chelsea further and further deeper into their own territory. They just now need to start creating some chances.
Burnley have a throw on the halfway line. It means we can go to Stoke City. Catherine Merry.
Still Stoke 1, Rotherham 0. That 27th minute goal from James McLean, the difference. There's a big pause in play though here, because Rotherham United have Sean McDonald down, receiving treatment after landing awkwardly following an area duel. So I reckon because of that fall there's going to be some changes here, but at the moment it's still Stoke leading the way 1-0.
And that is the scoreline here at Turf Moor in favour of Chelsea. The goal from Ziyech after 26 minutes. I know in Holland, I said this when they played Southampton recently. In Holland, he was called Ziyech, but when he did as they do for the Premier League, they have to stand in front of a camera, and it was Ziyech. But it's that pronounced at the end. It's like Gravenberg.
Should be good at the part. Ziyech.
Only if I've got a fudge stuck in my mouth. Cheltenham 2, Forest Green Rovers 0 is the latest score in League 2. Burnley hammered downfield by Westwood, and again one bounce and it'll go all the way through to Mendy. We'll stay in Lancashire. We'll go to Preston. Shojo Saka.
Yeah, remains Preston 1, Birmingham 1. Preston pushing. Tom Barkhuizen with a shot cleared off the line. Alan Brown heading over. Birmingham's Mikhail Sanjose also with an effort wide. This one's bubbling. Preston 1, Birmingham 1.
After those 3 games tomorrow, 5 Live Premier League Sunday, we've got a game on Monday night. Leeds United against Leicester City. We're back into the Champions League next Tuesday and Wednesday as Kante for Chelsea is forward. Chelsea, in fact, will feature in one of our games on Wednesday. Chelsea are at home to Rennes, looking to build on that victory against Krasnodar during the week. Ziyech. Out it goes towards Chilwell on the left-hand side, just drifting in field now, back towards Ziyech, chips it forward. Werner couldn't control the ball. It allowed Tarkowski to put it out of play for a throw. Then Tarkowski, I think, was looking for a flag that never materialised, so it'll be a Chelsea throw over on that far side, the left. 5 Live in the World Service from the BBC. Level with the penalty area. Chelsea have a throw. Chilwell gets it back from Tammy Abraham to Werner. Chilwell waits. Werner only in the starting lineup through that injury in the warm-up for Pulisic. Almost overrunning it was Tarkowski. And Chelsea now can take advantage. Ziyech, Taylor with a last-ditch challenge. He went to ground and then extended his leg just to divert the ball away, just when Ziyech maybe thought he was going to be away from the Burnley left-back.
He did. He just seemed to go to ground far too early, didn't he? And then luckily there was an opportunity just to stick that toe out and get something at the end. But I've been very impressed with Ziyech today. He's drifted all over the field. He's been Chelsea's main man with regards to creativity. Yet again, he was on the ball there. I'm very impressed with his performance.
Chelsea leading by a goal to 0. Corner kick on this near side the right, playing from left to right. And it comes from Mount, and a thumping header, absolutely powerful header from Kurt Zouma. No chance for Pope, and Chelsea increase their lead. 2-0 now against Burnley, and Chelsea on their way to 3 points. It was unstoppable.
It was a terrific ball in by Mason Mount. Really did have all the whip and the dip that you require to cause problems to the defending side. As the ball come in, Zouma was just a full stretch. I think it was Tarkowski in the middle of the park. I thought that he was going to get a header on it. It's Chris Wood. You just felt that he was going to have the opportunity to clear it. I think maybe he even got a touch on it himself, a little flick on which took it even more into the head of Kurt Zouma. He reacted so quickly. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he reacted really quickly. But it was a bullet header. I think it hits him as much as anything else, but it really is going at real pace when it hits the back of the goal. Pope in goal has absolutely no chance. And Chelsea find themselves 2 goals to the good.
Well, Chelsea have won their last 3 here, and they've scored 10 goals in the process. And they've just bagged another 2, and Zouma has taken his tally to 3 for the season. He only scored 1 goal last season, but that's his 3rd of the campaign, and it gives Chelsea a little bit of a cushion as they lead 2-0. Talking of a second goal, Swansea, Blackburn, Laura Kenyon.
Indeed, Swansea 2, Blackburn 0. A great cross from Jan Danda, headed in by today's captain Andre Ayew. It's Swansea 2, Blackburn 0.
So Chelsea lead by 2 goals to 0, and it means Burnley will remain inside the bottom 3, along with Sheffield United and Fulham, all on a point each at the moment. But Burnley, they've seen a lot of the ball in the second half, but they've not really made much impression on this Chelsea back line. The only effort really from Barnes from distance. They've struggled to create and test Mendy. As we will go to Preston against Birmingham, Shojo Saka.
Addition to the score here, still Preston 1, Birmingham 1. Birmingham on the attack right now, crossing, and chance comes to Jonathan Lecco. Will he take it? I'm going to stay with this. Just wide. Still Birmingham 1, Preston 1.
Burton Albion have equalised at home to Blackpool. Burton 1, Blackpool 1, Wigan 1, Northampton Town 2. So John Sheridan's side have a goal back, and Port Vale have now got a second goal at Roots Hall. Southend United 0, Port Vale 2 is the latest score in League 2, and our featured game there is Salford Oldham. Betty Glover.
It's still Salford 1, Oldham 0. Salford leading from James Wilson's 4th league goal of the season in the first half. 2 chances for Oldham though in the second. The latest from Callum Whelan, who found himself clean in front of the goalkeeper but flicked the ball past the far post. Nothing yet though. It's Salford 1, Oldham 0.
Back to the Championship, and Luton Town against Brentford, Sahel Sahi.
And Brentford are still leading in by 2 goals to 0. We've just played an hour here. Brentford in control. Luton are pressing forward as you would expect in this second half, but not really troubling the Brentford defence. Brentford leading Luton then by 2 goals to 0.
This will be a good scoreline and a good result for Frank Lampard when you consider they're coming back on that long trek from Krasnodar. They've got this busy schedule of games. He's chopping and changing his side. He's still looking for that consistency, and it's all about starting to string them wins together. He talks about how, he thinks that sometimes he can be judged a little bit more harshly because he's English. Well, you look at their record this season, Chelsea would have lost once in 90 minutes now in 11 games if they can secure the 3 points here.
I think they'd be delighted if they come away from here with a clean sheet. Their away record hadn't been fantastic. If they want a challenge at the top, their away clean sheet record was relatively dreadful until they went to Old Trafford in the week, and now they're on a reasonable run, and he'll want that to continue.
Ziyech swings over a low cross from this near side, the right. Burnley will break. Brownhill. Kante was quick to close down McNeil. Hit long by Lowton. And Mendy comes out of his penalty area and volleys the ball away downfield. Nice little touch there by Abraham off his head, and he sets Werner away. Werner, though, just with one heavy touch, showed a little bit too much to Kevin Long. Sliding along the ground, puts it out of play for a Chelsea throw, who lead 2-0 over on the far side. Leon Osman.
That was brilliant defending from Long. You just felt that Chelsea were going to have a real opportunity. Timo Werner running at Kevin Long, but as you said, he just hit his touch, just a touch heavy. Long was patient in his defending, and when it was a little bit long, he pounced.
Chelsea coming forward. Mason Mount. Gareth Southgate names his England squad on Thursday. Reece James for the first time cross. That would have been a delightful goal. It was quick, it was swift, it was incisive. Chelsea have still got it. Werner little back heel. Chilwell on that far side with Kante. Kante now goes inside to Mason Mount. Mount controls the ball. Always looks so effortless from Mason Mount. Little quick exchange there with Ziyech. Full control now.
Well, there's been a few different roles required from Mason Mount this season. He's been asked to play up and off the left hand side, up off the right. He's playing in his preferred midfield position today, and he's been a real big influence on this game.
Ball played back by Thiago Silva all the way back to the goalkeeper Mendy, who comes a long way out of his penalty area. Bournemouth Derby County in the Championship. Jonathan Overend.
Still Bournemouth 0, Derby 1, but Bournemouth desperate to preserve their unbeaten record so far this season. Twice have gone close through. Arnaud Danjuma forcing a save at the near post from Marshall. Before that, with the keeper to beat, hit the post. Bournemouth 0, Derby 1.
Ipswich have taken the lead at home to Crewe, looking to try and take advantage of Lincoln losing at Doncaster and Hull losing at Swindon, the top two. Wigan 1, Northampton Town 3 is the latest score, also in League One. You're up to date. 5 Live in the World Service. Shot fired in by Rodriguez, blocked, goes out of play, spins low along the ground. Loke will take the throw quickly on the right hand side, played forward. McNeil, nice little turn away from Werner into the penalty area. Thiago Silva heads it away, and Chelsea's defence remains relatively unstretched. The way that they've remained quite tight and compact throughout as a unit.
They have, and they've not really give this Burnley side an awful lot to get excited about.
Werner away on the left hand side, challenged and dispossessed, and now Lowton for Burnley, trailing by 2-0. Out it goes towards that far side, back with Brownhill. Westwood just outside the centre circle. But again, his range has been intercepted by James, and James will come surging forward now for Chelsea. He's got Ziyech. Werner's also through. Ziyech has found Werner, and Werner goes on to score. Clinical in front of goal from Timo Werner. A third goal for Chelsea, and the 3 points are secure. It's Burnley 0, Chelsea 3.
Brilliant yet again from Chelsea, and Ziyech in particular. There's just a stray pass in midfield from a Burnley player. Really was poor in possession. I think it's actually Westwood. He's just trying to play a crossfield pass to Charlie Taylor on this left-hand side. Reece James reads it well, drives up the right-hand side, cuts it inside to Ziyech, who has the ability and the presence of mind just to take a touch and roll it into the path of Timo Werner. One touch left foot, second touch right foot, back of the corner, bottom of the net. Great goal.
Ahead of today's game, Werner was yet to score away in the Premier League. He had 9 attempts, but bearing in mind that his 17 goals away in the Bundesliga last season had actually equalled a record from set back in 73-74 from Jupp Heynckes when he played for Borussia Mönchengladbach all those years ago. It tells you about what Werner will bring. He'll just bring you goals, and already he's up to 5 this season in a Chelsea shirt. And Chelsea, who have enjoyed handsome victories by scoring 4 goals on their last 2 visits to Turf Moor, are already leading by 3-0.
Well, they've dominated this game. This man on the ball, Havertz, Mount, Ziyech coming in off this right hand side have been just too difficult for the Burnley midfield to pick up. But when you've got that ability, and then on the opposite that you've got Kante just holding the middle of the park, picking up any stray passes or any mistakes that you make. It gives you real confidence to go about your business, and that's what Chelsea have done as a midfield today.
Chelsea climbing the Premier League table. Back to Swansea City, Laura Kenyon.
Well, Steve Cooper's side really on top here now. Swansea have just brought on sub Victor Gyökeres on for Jamal Lowe, but Jan Danda and Andre Ayew really running the show down this right hand side, linking up really nicely as things stand. Swansea 2, Blackburn 0.
Don't forget that Boris Johnson press conference is coming up on BBC Radio 5 Live at 5 o'clock. As a result, England, Italy in the rugby will be on 5 Live Sports Extra with Chris Jones, Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson, as Chelsea are threatening more goals. Chilwell running into the penalty area, stands on the ball. It allows Burnley to clear the ball away. That gets underway at 4:45 on Sports Extra. Scotland earlier beat Wales 14-10 as the Six Nations comes to a close. So there's going to be a change. It means we can go to Millwall at home to Huddersfield. Aaron Paul.
Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1. Things a little scrappy here. There's a real lack of quality in the final third from the hosts. Huddersfield, though, sitting constantly waiting to counter, and they've had 2 good chances. Isaac and Benza with the best, fizzing a chance just wide. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1.
So the change being made by Burnley was Brady has come on to replace Ashley Barnes. Chelsea are going to be making a change. Whilst this is happening, we can get the team news from our 5:30 game. Liverpool, West Ham United, Will Perry.
Well, with Fabinho injured, we thought his replacement would be Reece Williams, but Klopp has gone with Nathaniel Phillips, who's made just 1 appearance for Liverpool in the FA Cup last season. Dano, the one other change from the win over Sheffield United, Curtis Jones replaced Jota, and 1 West Ham change from the draw against Manchester City. Haller comes in for the injured Antonio. Benrahma's on the bench.
Regular updates from Will. Don't forget 5 Live Premier League Sunday tomorrow. Commentaries from St James's Park at 2, Old Trafford at 4:30, and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at 7:15 for Newcastle Everton, Manchester United Arsenal, and Tottenham against Brighton. Hudson-Odoi is the player who has come on, and it is Ziyech who has gone off. Ziyech, who scored the first goal, his first in the Premier League, his second for Chelsea this season, and I would imagine that he'll be very pleased with his day's work.
He will, his manager will, his teammates will. As you said, he has a real big influence in this game. His fitness has grown, his technical ability is showing through.
James on the right hand side, cut out by Taylor. It won't go out of play. Chelsea are still threatening more goals, leading by 3-0. It is Hudson-Odoi who controls this ball. He stands still, he chips it towards the far side, brought under control by Chilwell, forced out wide, works back over the cross, headed away by McNeil, hit then on the half volley and screwed wide by Reece James. Chelsea still lead 3-0 back into the Championship. Barnsley, Watford, Tom Gale.
Barnsley 1, Watford 0. We should have both captains on the score sheet. Watford saw great work down the right cross. Tom Cleverley 6 yards out, slices with his right foot, would have been a tap in with his left. Barnsley 1, Watford 0.
What's the latest Wycombe Sheffield Wednesday? Katie Shanahan.
Well, Wycombe still lead here by a goal to 0. Scott Casket has the best shot so far for Wycombe, firing it into the bottom left-hand corner. Great save by Joe Wildsmith, making his first league start. The visitors have had a crack, but nothing yet. Wycombe, remember, looking for their first Championship win of the season, and they lead here by a goal to 0.
How concerned would you be, Leon Osborne, if you were a Burnley supporter listening to BBC Radio 5 Live? Not listening to Radio 5 Live, but I mean with Burnley losing a game.
Listening to you. Well, I haven't watched Burnley a couple of times now. I haven't really seen them create many chances. They don't seem to score goals. They scored 2 on the opening day, or their opening day, against Leicester, and I think they've only scored 1 goal since. That is a big concern. If you're trying to get the points to stay in the Premier League, you have to score goals, and they're not creating chances. They're not getting their front 2 working together like we've seen in the past, causing opposition teams problems. So at the moment, Burnley and Sean Dyche have to find an answer to that.
Well, it's going to be a 4th straight defeat at home for the first time since Brian Laws was the manager 10 years ago, as they trail by 3-0. To the Championship again, to the Riverside, Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest, Connie McLaughlin.
Yeah, still goalless here at the Riverside, but it's not for the want of trying from the home side, it has to be said. They've had chances, but the stats don't lie. Only 2 of them are on target. Neil Warnock trying to change things up a little bit. Chuba Akpom has replaced the Brits. Asa Malonga going for goals, I suspect it is. At the moment though, Middlesbrough 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Elsewhere, Burton 1, Blackpool 2 is the latest score in League One. To the Championship, Stoke City, Rotherham United, Catherine Merrill.
Still Stoke 1, Rotherham 0. 3 substitutions have been made by Rotherham. Crooks and Smith are on, George Hurst on for the Darpo, but nothing much else to report. Still Stoke leading.
If, by the way, Burnley don't score in the next 14 minutes plus stoppage time, it will be the first time since 97-98 that they've failed to score in each of their opening 3 home fixtures. Then they were in the 3rd tier. As Olivier Giroud comes onto the field of play, and he replaces Tammy Abraham. John Southall is... Where are you, John?
QPR
Cardiff.
QPR 2, Cardiff 1. Cardiff are much better in this second half. That penalty has given them hope. Junior Hoylett header 8 yards out, just couldn't get the power on it, and he also tried a 25-yarder that flashed wide. Started this second half very late, so still 20 minutes to play. QPR 2, Cardiff 1.
So a run out for the next 14 minutes to add to his only 17-minute cameo appearance against West Bromwich Albion in the Premier League for Olivier Giroud. For in the top flight. Cheltenham 2, Forest Green Rovers 1 is the latest score in League 2. Fleetwood Town 2, Oxford United 0 is the latest score in League 1. Peterborough have just got a third against Shrewsbury, so they lead 3-1 at London Road, and another goal at Salford for Betty Glover.
It's Salford 2, Oldham 0. Second goal for Salford. It was certainly coming. Brilliant run from 35-year-old Ian Henderson along the left-hand side. He passed it to Ashley Hunter, who tapped it home for his 3rd goal of the season. If Salford keep this up, Paul Scholes is looking at his 2nd win as interim manager. It's Salford 2, Oldham 0.
The rugby that'll be getting underway in 10 minutes' time. England against Italy in the Six Nations is going to be live on 5 Live Sports Extra. Slight change of schedule because we've got the Boris Johnson press conference at 5 o'clock on BBC Radio 5 Live. I'll run through the latest scores for you in a moment as Chilwell now with a cross. Only half controlled by Havertz. It runs through instead to James. James with the diagonal ball. Headed away by Long at the back as Burnley trail by 3-0. So, in the Premier League earlier today, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1, and Chelsea lead here by 3-0. The result in the Championship was Bristol City 1, Norwich City 3. These are the latest scores in the Championship. Barnsley 1, Watford 0, Bournemouth 0, Derby 1, Luton Town 0, Brentford 3, Middlesbrough 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1, Preston 1, Birmingham 1, Queen's Park Rangers still lead Cardiff City by 2-1, Stoke City 1, Rotherham 0, Swansea 2, Blackburn 0, and Wickham leads Sheffield Wednesday by 1-0. News of that 3rd goal from Brentford, Sahel Sahi.
Luton 0, Brentford 3. Ian Marcus Force, who's just come on from the substitutes bench, was drifted through, beg your pardon, into the penalty area, and he lifted it over the Luton goalkeeper. Luton 0, Brentford 3.
Havertz on this near side, the right. Chelsea lead by 3-0. Out of play it goes for a throw. The result in the early game, the 1 o'clock kickoff at Priestfield, Gillingham 0, Sunderland 2. That should be a happy coach back from Kent all the way to Wearside for Sunderland as Werner picks out Chilwell entering the penalty area, fired in and touched in. The flag's up, it will not count, it'll go to VAR. So Giroud was the one who touched it in at the near post. This will have to go to a VAR check.
Yeah, well, it just looked like Olivier Giroud just drifted off the shoulder of Kevin Long. It looked like he'd just gone a yard or two too early. We'll just see it again. Yeah, I think offside. The assistant referee's got that one right. But a flowing move again from Chelsea. They really are ripping apart this Burnley team. There's starting to be 1 or 2 frustrated players out there for Burnley. Kevin McNeil's just kicked the ball away in frustration. Sean Dyche is going to have to find an answer to keep this Burnley team positive for the next few weeks.
That's the voice of Leon Osman. These are the latest scores in League 1. Burton 1, Blackpool 2. Doncaster lead Lincoln City by 1-0. Fleetwood 2, Oxford United 0. Ipswich 1, Crewe 0. MK Dons 1, Wimbledon 1. Peterborough 3, Shrewsbury 1. Portsmouth 0. Charlton Athletic 1. That could be for Charlton Athletic a 5th straight win for Lee Bowyer's side. Rochdale 1, Bristol Rovers 1, Swindon 2, Hull City 1, Wigan 2, Northampton 3. The result in League 2 was Exeter 1, Carlisle United 0. These are the latest scores in League 2. Barrow still lead Bradford City, who are down to 10 men by 1-0. Cheltenham 2, Forest Green 1, Crawley 2, Cambridge 1, Leyton Orient 4, Bolton Wanderers 0, Mansfield 1, Walsall 1. Mansfield, who are yet to win, they sacked Graham Coughlin on Tuesday. Newport County 1, Harrogate 1. Harrogate are down to 10 men. Salford City 2, Oldham 0. Southend still yet to win themselves and bottom of the table 0. Port Vale 2. It's Stevenage 0, Grimsby 0, and Tranmere 0, Morecambe 1. Just the 2 games in the Scottish Premiership. Dundee United leading Ross County 2-0 at Tannadice, and it's Livingston 0, Motherwell 2. And whilst all that's been happening, Burnley trailing 3-0. They've got a corner, taken short, right-hand side, claret and sky blue shirts, back to Brownhill. But Chelsea have every royal blue shirt back, and they've won the ball, although David Coote's just given a free kick, right corner of the penalty area, and we've got about 9 minutes remaining. Leon Osman.
I think it was silly from Hudson-Odoi. I think maybe he was just looking to try and put the cross in. The moment he couldn't, he was just able to take that foul off Hudson-Odoi, and it's a free kick in a dangerous position, corner of the Chelsea box on the far side. McNeil can whip it in with that left foot, and Burnley are 3-0 down. They may not win this game, but if they can score a goal, if they can be positive and get that monkey off their back.
In it comes. It's a ball towards the far post, over everybody's head, and out for a goal kick from that Westwood free kick. So Chelsea still lead by 3-0. Let's get an update from Preston. Shojo Saka.
Yeah, Preston 1, Birmingham 1. The home side having a penalty shout turned down just a moment to go. Jeremy Bella is off the bench for Birmingham City and causing havoc down the left. Preston striker Emil Rees is on as well. Preston 1, Birmingham 1.
Only in 1970-71 have Burnley lost each of their opening 3 games in the top flight at home. But after slender defeats to Southampton and Spurs, and now this 3-0 setback, it's going to be facing them here at Turf Moor, that statistic, as there's been a goal at Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
Equaliser for Bournemouth. Bournemouth 1, Derby 1. Cross from Rico from the left, and a spectacular right foot volley from Rodrigo Recalme on his home debut, and it's 1-1.
And there's been a goal at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough leading Nottingham Forest by a goal to 0. Neil Warnock's side would extend their unbeaten run to 8 games. Conor McLaughlin.
Indeed, and it's been coming all afternoon, it has to be said. It's the substitute Marvin Johnson. He was there at the far post, just managed to get on the end of the cross coming in, and sneaked the ball into the back of the net past Samba. It is at the moment Middlesbrough 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
Ross County have a goal back at Tannadice. Dundee United 2, Ross County 1. BBC Radio 5 Live and the World Service. 7 minutes to go to full time. Chelsea very comfortable, leading 3-0. As the ball given away by Giroud, tries to win it back, and they hunt for the ball, and they do succeed. And Kante now coming forward and just dinks it through to Werner. Werner, the angle is tight, and it was just saved at the near post by Pope. And it was a good job too, because it was Mason Mount, I think, the player who was running in behind.
It was Kai Havertz who was just sliding in at the box. A great strong left arm by Pope in that Burnley goal, but you can see the speed at which Chelsea can turn defence into attack. They won the ball. Kante yet again in the middle of that pitch, just drives forward, flicks one in behind for Timo Werner. Great cross in, nearly getting their 4th goal, but Chelsea have been strong and Burnley just haven't been able to compete today.
Let's get the latest from Millwall, Huddersfield, Aaron Paul.
Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1. Huddersfield close to grabbing a second. That man, Josh Karoma, involved again. Bialkowski with fabulous work in the Millwall goal. 2 excellent saves. Huddersfield looking to finish the job off. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 1.
It will be a 5th straight win for Charlton. They've just gone 2 up at Fratton Park. Portsmouth 0, Charlton Athletic 2. That's in League 1. This is the Premier League. It's on 5 Live, and Chelsea are going to be making another change. So for Chelsea, they've got Rennes at home on Wednesday, Sheffield United at home next Saturday before they then go into the international break. And we'll have commentary in the Champions League on Wednesday night from Stamford Bridge. Earlier on as well, Istanbul Başakşehir taking on Manchester United. That's a 5-6 start. So the first half of that game will be on Sports Extra. The second half on 5 Live before we turn our attentions to Stamford Bridge. 24 hours before that, Manchester City against Olympiacos will be live on 5 Live as well from the Etihad. But here, Chelsea 3-0. And just a question of just seeing out the game. Very, very professional job by Frank Lampard's team today.
Yeah, but they're still able to create chances. They're still moving the ball around. Burnley still unable to lay a glove on this Chelsea side. There's such has been their dominance.
Reece James on this near side, clips over the cross, headed away by Lowton, and Kante holding Wood, giving away a free kick. And now Chelsea can make another change on that far side, and the player that we're going to be seeing coming on is going to be Jorginho. and it's Havertz going off. I mean, he's got so much strength and quality at his disposal, hasn't he? Let's go back to Bournemouth, Jonathan Overend, before you answer that.
Extraordinary moment here, Ian. Score of Bournemouth 1, Derby 1. Derby unleashed a left foot drive. Didn't quite see who put the shot in, but it was heading in for all the world. Rico chasing back on the goal line has somehow kept it out, but I don't know with which part of his body, but I think he's temporarily out cold in the back of the net, and he's receiving some pretty urgent attention from the Bournemouth medical staff at the moment. But he did unbelievably to keep that out, because it was a full pelt drive. It's whacked him somewhere. It hasn't crossed the line, but hopefully he's okay. Seems to be moving okay at the moment, but he may not be able to continue in the match. But the scoreline, Bournemouth 1, Derby 1 still.
Thank you, Jonathan. The rain has returned here in Lancashire. It's sweeping in over the cricket field and into the ground away from our right-hand side in these blustery conditions. As Chelsea are coming forward again, and it's Hudson-Odoi, the substitute, edge of the penalty area, plays it towards Kante. Kante just outside the D, shot takes a deflection and goes off target, and therefore will go behind for a corner kick for Chelsea, who lead by 3-0. Anytime now, the rugby will be underway. England against Italy in the Six Nations. Commentary is on 5 Live Sports Extra with Paul Grayson, Matt Dawson and Chris Jones, because in 15 minutes time we have the Boris Johnson press conference here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Earlier Wales 10, Scotland 14 is how it finished, and it's going to be Mason Mount to take the corner kick for Chelsea. We're threatening another 4 goals here at Turf Moor. In it comes, and the header on this occasion from Thiago Silva was saved by Nick Pope, as we will go to Deepdale. A goal, Shojo Saka.
Preston 1, Birmingham 2. Gary Gardner off the bench for Birmingham City. Cross from the right, he headed home quite easily. They take the lead. Preston 1, Birmingham 2.
How impressed have you been then with Chelsea?
Very impressed. To make the trip to Krasnodar, which is a rigorous trip, it's tough to come back from such a journey and play as well as they have done. They've been in complete control of this game. They've dominated possession. They've won the physical battles defensively. Thiago and Zuma haven't give the Burnley strike force a moment, with Kante just sitting in front, picking up any bits, and then Havertz and Werner and Mason Mount, have really dominated the midfield, getting turned, playing the ball forward, and Burnley just haven't been able to deal with it today.
Burnley's 5th successive season in the top flight. Didn't really back their manager, and it can't help but feel it's going to be a season of toil, struggle ahead. Certainly, if they can limp their way and see what's available in the January window.
Well, the thing about Burnley, is they were always a threat, even if they only had 20-25% possession, maybe 30. You knew you had to be on your toes. They'd knock a ball forward, there'd be a knockdown, and with the strike force they've got, they create chances. But I've watched 2 whole games now in the last couple of days from Burnley, and part of the opening 5 minutes of this game, Barnes had an opportunity. That's the only opportunity I've seen them create in 180 minutes of football.
The only point that they picked up is at West Bromwich Albion, as they're trailing 3-0. Newport County have got a second goal. They've finally let that pressure tell against the 10 men of Harrogate Town. Newport County, the leaders of League 2, leading Harrogate now by 2-1, as Peterborough have got a 4th at home to Shrewsbury. Peterborough 4, Shrewsbury Town 1. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. We're about to find out how much added on time there will be as Burnley give the ball away, and it's knocked forward. And the press conference, the Prime Minister press conference, is now 6:30. So it was originally 4, then it was put back to 5, and we're now hearing it's going to be 6:30. So in fact, because we're so flexible on BBC Radio 5 Live, we will be going to the rugby.
I expect he wants to watch the rugby. Don't know. I would think that's weighed heavy on his decision there.
Well, Mark Chapman thought it was because they wanted to watch this game.
Well, that wouldn't
listen to 5 Live.
That wouldn't surprise me either. He's obviously well into his sport, and I'm not sure there's much going on in his life other than the afternoon of sport on the BBC.
So 2 minutes have added on time. So because we're flexible on 5 Live, we'll have the rugby before the press conference at 6:30. Penalty at Queen's Park Rangers, John Southall.
The second of the game, QPR 2, Cardiff 1. Rules steps up and he's saved by the goalkeeper. On the follow-up though, Rules is there and he puts it into the roof of the net, and Cardiff have come from 2-0 down, and with 5 minutes to play, it's QPR 2, Cardiff 2.
That mean that QPR without a win in 8, and for Cardiff City they'd have drawn their last 4 if it stays 2-2. No other goals elsewhere. We're into 2 minutes of added on time here at Turf Moor for an excellent 3 points for Chelsea.
Yeah, excellent, well deserved. Not always a given when, first of all, you come to Turf Moor. Second of all, when you've had a midweek away game and a tough one with a lot of travelling. So Frank Lampard will be very pleased with the performance. He'll be even more pleased with the goals they've scored, and he should be delighted if they can keep it.
Shot from Loughton. It was a dipping effort, hit first time just outside the penalty area, right-footed, just sailed away from Mendy. And for Mendy, he is going to be the first Chelsea goalkeeper since Petr Cech to keep clean sheets in his first 3 Premier League games.
Yeah, that's where I was leading to finish. I'd be even more delighted with the clean sheet, no more so than goalkeeper Mendy, who's come in, he's look assured, he's caught balls when they come into the penalty area. We don't always see that these days with goalkeepers liking and preferring to punch, and he's a real calm and influence at the back. His decision making has been spot on so far, so it's just things are just falling into place for Frank and his side.
Stoppage in play. Thiago Silva is the one who's he's just gone down, just feeling a slight knock, I think, but he's okay to continue as the 2 minutes of added on time are all but up here at Turf Moor. So we've got the rugby on the way, we've got the boxing tonight at 10:30, Chisora against Usyk. We've got 3 Premier League commentaries tomorrow, Leeds Leicester on Monday, and Champions League coverage on Tuesday and Wednesday as it's finished here at Turf Moor. And Burnley once again yet to trouble the scoreboard at home in the Premier League, and they remain struggling inside the bottom 3. But Chelsea, with an excellent win, Leon Osman, moved within touching distance of Wolves, Liverpool and Everton.
Yeah, Chelsea have come under a little bit of criticism early in the season for conceding goals, especially at home to Southampton, away at West Brom, but they really do seem to have found the answer with, I think, 4 clean sheets in the last 4 games. They were assured, they were dominating right from the beginning of this game. Burnley couldn't find an answer to their passing intricate play between Ziyech and Mount, and Timo Werner in the middle of the field. Kai Havertz heavily involved as well, and a comfortable victory for Chelsea.
Ziyech's first goal in the Premier League after 26 minutes, an unstoppable header from Zuma after 63, and then Timo Werner 20 minutes from time. Chelsea go 4th, Burnley 0, Chelsea 3.
It's come at Millwall, Aaron Paul.
No, Huddersfield 2, an uncharacteristic error from Bartosz Białkowski has wrapped up the job for Huddersfield. It was Pieper, the fullback, on the left-hand side, cutting inside and firing a speculative effort towards goal. Białkowski couldn't handle it. He tried to parry it away up behind, and it just dropped into the net. The keeper got it out, but the referee gave the goal. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 2.
So back to Turf Moor. Leon Osman, how much credit do you give Chelsea's defence, or how blunt did Burnley look?
Well, more often than not, I'd say it was all down to Chelsea's defence, that they stopped at source, they stopped the balls forward, they battled and gave Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes as good as they got, but Burnley just seem a little bit below par. That spark hasn't been there, that extra bite in their cross, that extra energy in their battling play at the top end of the field. So I think it's a little bit of both. Frank will be pleased with his clean sheet from his side, and Sean Dyche will be going back to train and just wondering how to get a little bit more from his strike force.
And as you say, coming off the back of that win in Krasnodar and a goalless draw at Old Trafford, that is a good week for Frank Lampard.
Oh, it's a brilliant week to have had the clean sheets that they've had. Yes, that started with a draw at Old Trafford, started with a draw against Sevilla just before that to start this run of 4 clean sheets. So he'll be delighted with the way it's turning round. He'll be pleased that despite them keeping their clean sheets, they still look a real threat at the other end of the field, and he'll hope that this balance that he's got in his side can continue now.
So it's finished. Burnley 0, Chelsea 3 at Turf Moor. Earlier, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1 was how it finished at Bramall Lane. From 5:30, it is Liverpool West Ham. We'll bring you updates here on 5 Live. We're going to go to the rugby shortly. Italy against England. The Prime Minister's press conference has been delayed. Originally scheduled for 4, then for 5. All we have at the moment is that it has been delayed. They're approaching the final whistle in the Championship at Bournemouth. Jonathan Overend.
Still Bournemouth 1, Derby 1. Bournemouth really pressing. King, Solanke, Danjuma have all had opportunities, but it was Steve Cook who made that incredible clearance off the line a few minutes ago, which seems to have preserved Bournemouth's unbeaten record, and he's okay, he's carrying on. Big man, it was an unbelievable stop from him, flush in the face, full pelt, 1-1, stoppage time.
No problem for Barnsley's new manager, hey, Tom Gale?
No, full-time Mark. Barnsley 1, Watford 0. New boss Valérien Ismaël's 100% winning record continues. Alex Mowatt's early stunner worthy of winning any game. Watford probably the better team, but couldn't convert all their possession. 0 shots on target. Barnsley unbeaten in 5. Full-time Barnsley 1, Watford 0.
Another goal at Millwall, Aaron Paul.
Game, set, match. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 3. Lewis O'Brien finishing off a sparkling counter-attack from Carlos Corberán's side. They cut through Millwall and it was played down the right-hand side. And there was O'Brien just to slam it past Bartosz Białkowski. Millwall 0, Huddersfield 3.
Kenilworth Road next, Sahil Sahi.
A resounding win and 3 points for Brentford, Mark. They beat Luton by 3-0. Quicker and slicker where it matters around the penalty area. Rico Henry, Ivan Toney and Marcus Forst, the goal scorers. The pick, the first from Henry, who fizzed it home from 20 yards out. Brentford 2.0 are taking shape. Full-time, Luton 0, Brentford 3.
Fifth for Peterborough in the Championship. They lead Shrewsbury by 5 goals. Shrewsbury played the second half with 10 men. To Middlesbrough next, Connie McLaughlin.
Yeah, finished Middlesbrough 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Marvin Johnson, the substitute, made his first opportunity and touch of the match count 10 minutes from time and gave all 3 points to Neil Warnock's side. It was totally deserved, Mark. They'd been hounding the Forest defence all afternoon. Britt Assombalonga, Marcus Tavernier and Hayden Coulson all having great opportunities but squandering them, and there was a feeling it might have been one of those afternoons for Borough, but the home side now unbeaten in 8, up to 5th in the table. Forest just couldn't find an answer and find themselves scarily close to the bottom of the table. It finished here at the Riverside. Middlesbrough 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
QPR were 2 up on Cardiff at half-time. Cardiff got it back to 2-2 in the second half. Now, though, John Southall.
Wow, QPR 3, Cardiff 2, and what a goal from Tom Carroll. 25 yards out, absolutely